and their gazes met, imbued with a profound intensity. The heat of his gaze rendered Chunyu unable to hold his stare, prompting her to glance away, her heart pounding fiercely as her cheeks deepened in color. Gu Yechen cupped her face, compelling her to meet his gaze. His earnestness and longing were palpable, igniting a tremor within her heart. Gradually, he leaned closer, the distance between them diminishing until their lips met, sending a wave of sweetness coursing through her. In that moment, time seemed to freeze, leaving only the two of them in their shared world. Thunderstruck, Chunyu felt as though she had been struck by lightning, rendering her motionless. She had never anticipated that her first kiss would be claimed under such circumstances. Though Gu Yechen was undeniably handsome and talented, his youth left her feeling slightly overwhelmed. After 3 minutes, Gu Yechen finally released her. "Miss Chen, I apologize. I couldn't help myself," he said, offering an awkward smile tinged with regret. Influenced by the charged atmosphere, he had acted impulsively and now felt remorseful for his lack of restraint. "It's all right. Let's step outside," Chunyu replied, feigning calmness. Her entire face flushed. Her mind was a whirlwind of confusion, and she was unsure how to face Gu Yechen, so she opted to stabilize the situation by exiting the room. "Very well," Gu Yechen said softly, his tone gentle, momentarily causing Chunyu to lose her composure before she quickly regained her senses. She dared not meet his eyes again. Lowering her head as she led the way to the door, Gu Yechen opened the door, revealing a gathering of concerned faces waiting outside. The soundproofing of Chunyu's room had kept the earlier events concealed from the waiting crowd. As the two emerged, they were immediately surrounded by worried onlookers. "How are you?" The elderly matriarch of the Chun family approached Chunyu, steadying her. Gu Yechen noted that Chunyu possessed a certain ethereal beauty. Her complexion was slightly pale, yet the redness in her cheeks from their earlier encounter enhanced her allure. "Grandmother, I am fine. It is all thanks to Mr. Gu's assistance," Chunyu replied softly, omitting any mention of the earlier incident. Though she felt a flicker of anger, thoughts of Gu Yechen's striking appearance and his life-saving efforts for her grandfather quelled her irritation, replacing it with a budding anticipation for their next acupuncture session. Chapter 321. A grateful heart remains unspoken. "Mr. Gu, I cannot express my gratitude adequately. You not only saved me, Chen Zhengming, but now you have also rescued my granddaughter. Should you ever require assistance, do not hesitate to ask. As long as it remains within the bounds of principle," Chen Zhengming exclaimed, his eyes brimming with affection for Gu Yechen. "Old Chen, there is no need for such formality between us," Gu Yechen replied, casting a glance towards Chinyu. The moment their eyes met, Chinyu quickly turned her head away, her heart racing and her cheeks flushed, resembling a blossoming peach flower, delicate and enchanting. Inside, she felt as though a small deer was bounding wildly, an unfamiliar sensation that left her both anxious and expectant, unsure of how to proceed. At that moment, two esteemed traditional Chinese medicine practitioners approached, regarding Gu Yechen as if he were a brilliant prodigy. They were aware of his perfect score in the college entrance examination, but that was of little relevance to them. It was only when Gu Yechen's medical prowess became evident that they began to regard him with newfound respect. In their eyes, medical skill was the true measure of a person and Appo's worth, and Gu Yechen and Appo's abilities left them astonished. "Young Master Gu, may I inquire if the acupuncture technique employed to save old Chen was the legendary 13 needles of death?" One practitioner asked eagerly. This technique, long thought to be lost, was said to possess immense power, capable of bringing the deceased back to life as long as there remained a breath. For these seasoned practitioners, the prospect of such a technique was immensely appealing, and encountering someone as young as Gu Yechen who possessed it stirred their excitement and hope for the future of traditional medicine. Gu Yechen smiled slightly and nodded. "Indeed, it is that technique, though I have made slight modifications for old Chen's case." His tone conveyed both confidence and humility. He understood that while this medical knowledge was his own, it had been greatly enhanced by the support of his brother's system. Thus, he remained vigilant and lowly, never allowing himself to become complacent or arrogant. "Remarkable. Young Master Gu is indeed a rare talent to have improved upon such a technique. Might I request your guidance?" the practitioner exclaimed, admiration shining in his eyes. To them, Gu Yechen was an idol, a beacon of aspiration. They yearned to learn this lost technique, hoping to alleviate the suffering of many patients and ensure the continuation of traditional medicine. "Not at all. It is merely a matter of chance." Gu Yechen modestly waved his hand in response. He was acutely aware that he had a long journey ahead in the realm of medicine, and this so-called prodigious talent was merely an overestimation from the outside world. He needed to maintain clarity of mind and not be swayed by such superficial accolades. Observing the admiration directed towards Gu Yechen, Chinyu felt a surge of conflicting emotions. Initially irritated by Gu Yechen's earlier audacity, she now witnessed the respect he commanded from others, recalled his life-saving intervention for her grandfather, and remembered the tenderness of his recent gestures. Her heart softened unexpectedly. She found herself grappling with her feelings towards Gu Yechen, recognizing the complexity of her emotions, and even sensing a hint of fondness. As she stood there, her thoughts were a tangled mess, a chaos stirred by Gu Yeqing's presence, leaving her unsure of how to confront her emotions. "Miss Jin, do you still feel unwell?" Gu Yeqing inquired softly, concern evident in his tone as he gazed gently at Chunyu, as though he could see through her flushed cheeks to the turmoil within. "No, I'm fine, Mr. Gu. You need not worry," Chunyu stammered, her voice tinged with anxiety. She had not anticipated the peculiar emotions that had surfaced in her heart. As memories of Gu Yeqing's demeanor and smile flooded her mind, she felt a flutter within her, leaving her flustered and desperate to dismiss any notion of discomfort, attempting to veil her inner turmoil. Gu Yeqing nodded, then turned to the two practitioners. "Gentlemen, what would you like to know?" he asked, sipping his tea in a calm manner. The recent praises and inquiries had not swayed him. He remained composed, awaiting their questions. "Let me be direct," one practitioner said. "Young Master Gu, you are aware of the significance of the 13 needles of death in modern traditional medicine and its potential to treat a multitude of ailments. Would you be willing to impart this invaluable knowledge to me?" The elder spoke earnestly, understanding the rarity of this opportunity. If he could learn this technique, it would elevate his practice and enable him to bring hope to many patients, ensuring the legacy of traditional medicine endured. "You wish to learn?" Gu Yeqing asked with keen interest, looking at the elder. The elder nodded vigorously, recognizing that while the opportunity was slim, it was not entirely beyond reach. He longed to master this lost technique, to empower his medical practice and offer greater hope to his patients. "I would like to take you as my mentor," the elder declared gravely, prepared to commit himself to learning and preserving this ancient technique for future generations. "I would have no objection to teaching you. However, I am not one for complications, so I will not instruct you directly. Your understanding will depend on your own aptitude." Gu Yeqing replied before producing a manual detailing the 13 needles of death. This compendium, acquired through the system, contained meticulous notes on technique, acupoints, and precautions, reflecting his commitment to the preservation of traditional medicine. "You may both take a look, but it must remain confidential. Should this knowledge fall into the wrong hands, the consequences would be dire," Gu Yeqing stated, his tone friendly yet imbued with an unexpected maturity. He recognized the value of this technique and the potential harm if it were misused, thus he approached the matter with utmost caution. The two practitioners accepted the manual with the care one would afford to an infant, flipping through the pages with trepidation, determined not to overlook any detail. They understood that this manual could unlock a new chapter in their medical careers, allowing them to ascend to the pinnacle of traditional Chinese acupuncture and relieve the suffering of countless patients. Gu Yeqing disregarded them for the moment and turned to Qin Zhengming. "Old Qin, I must take my leave for today. I shall return in a couple of days to administer acupuncture to Miss Qin." "Very well. You and Oppos, please see Mr. Gu off," Qin Zhengming replied thoughtfully, directing Qin Yu to accompany Gu Yeqing. He sensed a subtle current of emotion between them and hoped this opportunity would allow them to connect, perhaps revealing the feelings simmering within Qin Yu's heart. Chapter 322. The apparition. Qin Yu nodded, following Gu Yeqing as they departed. Inside the Qin residence, the two doctors were utterly unable to maintain their composure upon witnessing the lethal 13 needles technique. Gu Yeqing would not instruct them on the proper execution. Given their current experience, if they could not even master the most fundamental aspects, it would be wise to abandon their pursuits. They were acutely aware of the vast chasm in medical expertise that lay between themselves and Gu Yeqing, and they understood that only through gradual comprehension and practice could they truly grasp the essence of this acupuncture method, thereby contributing to the inheritance of traditional Chinese medicine. Outside the Chun residence, Gu Yeqing walked alongside Qin Yu, who had a faint blush upon her cheeks, creating an atmosphere laden with tension. A gentle breeze carried the subtle fragrance of flowers. The Chun estate, nestled on a hillside, boasted picturesque scenery and pristine air, rendering the surroundings serene and beautiful. However, the emotions swirling between the two were tumultuous, akin to turbulent waves. "Are you returning?" Qin Yu inquired, her gaze fixed on the distant landscape, deliberately avoiding Gu Yeqing's eyes. She attempted to mask her nervousness and shyness by broaching trivial topics to dispel the awkward silence. Her voice trembled slightly, betraying her own fear of this sudden surge of courage. "Well, it is getting late. I shall return in a couple of days to perform acupuncture for you," Gu Yeqing replied, glancing at the stunning woman beside him, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. He noticed her unease, finding it endearing, yet refraining from teasing her, instead offering a gentle response to alleviate her tension. His eyes brimmed with warmth. "All right, just remember to come find me. I will be waiting for you." Qin Yu spoke unconsciously, her words imbued with an intimacy she herself did not fully grasp. Upon uttering this, her heart raced, and the blush on her cheeks deepened, leaving her momentarily stunned by her own audacity. Memories of Gu Yeqing and Oppos' charming demeanor flooded her mind, igniting feelings that left her bewildered, allowing this affection to quietly take root within her heart. Gu Yeqing paused, studying Qin Yu. She remained focused on the scenery ahead, yet her inner turmoil was palpable. She anxiously awaited his response, her heart fluttering with anticipation and trepidation. Her hands clasped tightly together. She sought to muster the courage necessary to face whatever Gu Yechen would say. Surprised, Gu Yechen chuckled softly and opened his arms, enveloping Chunyu in a warm embrace. She felt herself lean into a broad chest, taken aback by his actions, momentarily at a loss for what to do, her mind blank. Rest assured, I shall resolve your physical issues, Gu Yechen whispered in her ear, and before she could fully comprehend, he placed a swift kiss on her forehead and turned to leave. That guy? Chunyu snapped back to reality only to see Gu Yechen already seated in his car, waving goodbye. She could only helplessly wave back. Uncertain of what this exchange signified, Gu Yechen had embraced her and kissed her forehead. She harbored feelings for him, yet he already had a girlfriend. Chunyu was not one to covet another's love, and Gu Yechen's presence left her heart in disarray as she watched his figure fade into the distance. How was it? Chun Zhengming beamed at his granddaughter, having witnessed the embrace between the two with great delight. What do you mean? Chunyu shot her grandfather a look of exasperation. What is the nature of your relationship? The old man inquired. We don't share anything beyond a doctor-patient relationship, Chunyu replied thoughtfully. For she too was unsure of the nature of her bond with Gu Yechen. They seemed like friends, yet had crossed boundaries beyond mere friendship. Then why were you embracing just now? Chun Zhengming chuckled, though he maintained an air of propriety befitting his senior status. Grandpa Chunyu blushed, flustered that her grandfather had been watching and openly discussing it. It wasn't intentional. I merely happened to see, Chun Zhengming stammered, his own face reddening as he recollected the scene. However, he secretly hoped for a deeper connection between his granddaughter and Gu Yechen, even if it were not romantic. At least a strong friendship. Chunyu huffed, hastening back to her room and leaning against the door. Anxiety gripped her heart. She pondered how to face Gu Yechen in a couple of days. Overwhelmed, she decided to take a shower and retire for the night. Meanwhile, after leaving the Chun residence, Gu Yechen drove towards Qingbei University. As he enjoyed the music, he suddenly sensed a presence rapidly approaching from behind. A quick glance revealed a vehicle closing in on him. He pressed the accelerator, swiftly increasing the distance between them. Who might this be? Gu Yechen smirked, certain that this individual possessed formidable strength. With a mental acuity of 100, he could sense the power and situation within a certain radius. Behind him, the specter seethed as the sleek car sped away, slamming his fist against the steering wheel in frustration. Damn it, it really can run. Having a good car makes all the difference, he muttered, envy etched on his face. Just as he pondered how to eliminate Gu Yechen, his vehicle suffered a flat tire. Do you have business following me? Gu Yechen inquired, his demeanor serious as he assessed the specter and Oppo's strength. Both were peak 8th tier warriors, yet Gu Yechen was confident in his superior combat skills, prompting him to halt. The specter was taken aback that Gu Yechen had noticed him, especially since Gu Yechen had already attempted to escape. Did he not fear him? This left the specter perplexed. My mission is to eliminate you. Once you are dead, my task will be complete, the specter stated flatly, drawing forth twin blades. If it were anyone else, he would have dispatched them without a second thought. However, given the rumors surrounding Gu Yechen's prowess, he felt compelled to engage in conversation. Do you truly believe you can kill me? Gu Yechen asked, a faint smile gracing his lips. His gaze turned icy, and in that fleeting moment, the specter felt a chill of trepidation. I do not know, but I am a peak 8th tier warrior. You appear to be at the early stages of the 8th tier, making it difficult for you to contend with me, the specter remarked, surprised by Gu Yechen and Oppo's evident resolve for battle. Chapter 323, The Shadow of Death. Since this is the case, what are you waiting for? Show me the extent of your abilities. Gu Yechen chuckled lightly, confidence radiating from his demeanor, his gaze shimmering with unwavering determination. If you seek your own demise, do not blame me. The shadow, witnessing Gu Yechen's audacious stance, felt a surge of fierce anger rise within him. His eyes widened, teeth grinding audibly, as if he were poised to devour Gu Yechen whole. By the way, who is behind you? Surely, you cannot keep it a secret from someone on the brink of death? Gu Yechen, regaining his composure, fixed an inquisitive gaze on the shadow. This unexpected question momentarily caught the shadow off guard. He then replied, originally, we were not permitted to disclose this, but since your demise is inevitable, I shall graciously grant you clarity. I am the Shadow, one of the 4 protectors of the Dragon Gang. Your act of killing Fong, who has crossed the threshold of our gang, and thus, your fate is sealed. Upon finishing his words, the Shadow lunged towards Gu Yechen with a ghostly swiftness. The speed was astonishing, stirring a fierce wind that sent leaves swirling into the air. The Dragon Gang? I never anticipated you would come to me. Gu Yechen found amusement in the irony, realizing he had effortlessly drawn out those lurking in the shadows. A subtle smile graced his lips, though his eyes remained vigilant. As the shadow approached, Gu Yechen quickly steeled himself. Both were peak 8th tier warriors, and thus, he resolved to engage fully. Prepare to meet your end, the shadow bellowed, his voice reverberating like thunder as he struck at Gu Yechen with tremendous force, intending to obliterate him with a single blow. Gu Yechen took a stance, left foot forward, right foot back. Gathering his strength, he unleashed a powerful 8 extremes fist. A resounding crash echoed as the Shadow's fierce attack was shattered, dispersing into countless streams of energy. The Shadow's expression turned grave. He had employed all his power in that strike and yet failed to eliminate Gu Yechen, merely forcing him to retreat a half-step. You two are a peak 8th tier warrior? The Shadow's voice held a note of disbelief as he assessed Gu Yechen, who had withstood his full-force assault. Who knows? Gu Yechen replied with a faint smile that felt chilling, as if it could freeze the very air around them. Now it is my turn. Gu Yechen clenched his right fist, an overwhelming aura emanating from him, compressing the surrounding air with a sizzling sound. The Shadow sensed this immense pressure, momentarily dazed, a foreboding feeling swelling within him. I never expected you to be this formidable, the Shadow remarked, beads of sweat forming on his brow, though he sensed defeat looming. The pride of being a protector of the Dragon Gang compelled him to resist, surrendering easily. Brace yourself. With that, Gu Yechen unleashed a devastating punch. A golden light streaking towards the Shadow like a bolt of lightning, radiant and imbued with boundless power. The Shadow's internal energy surged, intensifying as he summoned all his strength to form a protective barrier. The shield flickered with an eerie glow, seemingly capable of withstanding any assault. Warriors transcended the realm of ordinary beings, especially those at the 8th tier, who had already reached the capabilities of adept practitioners. 9th tier warriors could manifest energy outside their bodies, converting it into formidable offensive power, while the 10th tier could even traverse the skies, though such individuals were exceedingly rare, particularly in Huagua, where few exceeded the 10th tier, most being affiliated with the state, unless ancient warriors re-emerged. According to Gu Yechen's investigations, this planet once thrived during an age of spiritual energy, which inexplicably dwindled and eventually vanished. Hence, ancient martial clans possessed extraordinary legacies. In the throes of battle, the Shadow's shield crumbled under the weight of Gu Yechen's overwhelming attack, shattering within 6 or 7 seconds. The impact sent him sprawling, akin to a kite severed from its string, crashing heavily to the ground. Cough. The recoil caused the Shadow to spit out blood, the blow having inflicted severe damage. His complexion turned ashen, eyes filled with despair and terror. Gu Yechen approached slowly, each footstep resonating ominously in the stillness. Speak. What other schemes does your Dragon Gang harbor? Gu Yechen loomed over the Shadow, his voice icy and penetrating, gasping for breath. The Shadow, blood-staining his lips, glanced at Gu Yechen, a flicker of hesitation crossing his features. You need not speak. The downfall of the Dragon Gang is merely a matter of time, Gu Yechen replied with a slight smile, advancing toward the Shadow, poised to deliver the fatal blow. At that moment, the Shadow struggled to utter, wait. The Dragon Gang is under the direction of another. I do not know the specifics, only that it is a powerful organization. They ordered us to eliminate you and impede your investigations. The Shadow refrained from mentioning Su Bei, opting instead for a vague reference to other forces, hoping to evade peril. Gu Yechen paused, contemplating the Shadow and Apos' words. He was not inclined to trust him, yet he would not let those who sought to harm him escape unscathed. Clearly, the depths of this conspiracy run deeper than I imagined, Gu Yechen murmured, a glint of resolve flashing in his eyes. Whoever it may be, I shall uncover the truth and retaliate fiercely. Now, tell me about the structure and strength of your Dragon Gang, Gu Yechen inquired, a smile crossing his lips as he regarded the disheveled figure of the Shadow. The Shadow trembled at the inquiry. He was acutely aware of the Dragon Gang's merciless treatment of traitors. Should he divulge the information and be discovered, his fate would be sealed. Gazing into Gu Yechen's frigid eyes, he understood that silence would only lead to his demise. Taking a deep breath, the Shadow steeled himself against Gu Yechen's chilling stare. Our Dragon Gang consists of a leader, a deputy leader, and 4 protectors, all possessing strength above the 8th tier. The leader is named Su Bei, boasting mid-9th tier capabilities. 9th tier warrior, you say? Gu Yechen felt a surge of excitement within. Chapter 324. The Phantom is deceived to death. Gu Yechen and Apos' strength had reached the pinnacle of the 8th rank, merely a step away from the 9th. His extraordinary physique endowed him with unparalleled power and resilience, leaving others in the same realm far behind, utterly incapable of contending with him. In Gu Yechen's eyes, his battle against Su Bei was a foregone conclusion, one in which he harbored absolute confidence. The Phantom gazed at Gu Yechen, his body trembling involuntarily. The mere mention of a 9th rank warrior would send most into a state of terror, yet Gu Yechen exhibited an unusual excitement, his eyes glimmering with a fervent desire for battle and admiration for strength. The Phantom mused that Su Bei would likely fare poorly against Gu Yechen, who might very well annihilate him. Mr. Gu, I have disclosed everything I know. Might you consider sparing me? The Phantom's voice was laced with apprehension and unease, uncertain if Gu Yechen might suddenly turn against him. Gu Yechen slightly nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips, yet that smile carried a frosty chill. He spoke slowly. I hope your words are truthful. I shall let you go this time. However, should I see you again, do not blame me for being ruthless and taking your life. His voice was calm yet tinged with an icy undertone, akin to a blade piercing the heart in the depths of winter. Very well. Thank you, Mr. Gu. I shall turn over a new leaf and refrain from engaging in any nefarious activities. The phantom felt a heavy weight lift from his heart. He had braced himself for a fierce struggle, never expecting Gu Yeqing to indeed grant him a path to escape unscathed. Begone. Remember, should I see you again, I will ensure you meet your end. Gu Yeqing waved his hand, inwardly sneering. This time I let you depart, but will fortune favor you again? The phantom hastily rose, eager to retreat to his vehicle and flee. However, at that moment, Gu Yeqing suddenly inquired, by the way, what is your name? The phantom paused, then replied, I am called Phantom. After speaking, he turned to flee, wishing to evade Gu Yeqing's gaze as quickly as possible. Yet Gu Yeqing's figure flickered like a specter, instantaneously appearing before him, still wearing that disarmingly warm smile. Startled, the phantom halted, confusedly asking, Mr. Gu, what do you mean by this? Phantom, it has been a while. This must be our second meeting, correct? Gu Yeqing maintained his courteous smile, which struck the phantom as a devil and Oppo's invitation, sending shivers down his spine. What do you intend? The phantom quickly regained his composure, attempting to step back, only to suddenly feel a sharp pain in his chest. Gu Yeqing had kicked him squarely in the chest, the force propelling him away like a kite severed from its string, crashing into a tree by the roadside. Blood surged up his throat, and despite the agony, he swallowed it back down, worsening his injuries. Weren't you the one who said I could leave? The phantom, enduring the excruciating pain, struggled to rise, facing Gu Yeqing with eyes full of fury and confusion. Please, I never said that. You have been the one repeating it. Gu Yeqing shrugged, feigning innocence. You despicable fiend. I shall kill you. The phantom's anger surged, causing blood to rush uncontrollably to his head, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Look at you. So agitated for what reason? Gu Yeqing observed the phantom, bemused by his reaction. He shook his head and remarked, who gets so worked up they cough up blood? You. The phantom stammered, unable to articulate his rage. Well, my friend, fare thee well. I shall send the dragon gang to seek you out. Do remember to inform them, it was you who revealed their situation to me. Gu Yeqing sighed, his tone laced with mockery as he slowly approached the phantom. Gu Yeqing, may you meet a gruesome end. The phantom's eyes reddened, veins bulging, resembling a wounded beast as he roared in fury. Indeed, someone once uttered similar words to me. Yet he too met his demise. Perhaps you were his brother. Upon finishing, Gu Yeqing delivered a powerful punch to the phantom's chest, causing it to cave in, blood splattering as the phantom collapsed to the ground, lifeless. Ah, farewell. With the energy surging within him, Gu Yeqing swiftly cleaned the blood from his hands, then turned to his vehicle, revving the engine and driving away, leaving behind a scene of bloodshed and a corpse. Inside the vehicle, Gu Yeqing picked up his phone and dialed Tao Yong. At that moment, Tao Yong was in a meeting. Having successfully dismantled a substantial underground gambling operation in Kyoto with Gu Yeqing's assistance, capturing numerous suspects, a significant victory indeed. Deputy Chief Tao, well done. You have struck a blow against their arrogance. It is unfortunate we could not gather more intelligence, or we could have uprooted them entirely. Seated at the head of the table was the formidable middle-aged man, Ma Lin, the chief of the Kyoto police. His eyes flickered with a hint of regret, yet also admiration for Tao Yong. Chief, how shall we announce this? Tao Yong looked to Ma Lin, his expression tinged with uncertainty. He understood the sensitivity of Gu Yeqing's identity. Without permission, they could not publicly disclose the matter. Mr. Gu's identity is unique. We cannot speak of this without higher approval. Ma Lin's demeanor turned serious, unsure how to navigate the predicament. Gu Yeqing had undoubtedly made significant contributions, yet they could not easily publicize it, placing him in a dilemma. Just then, Tao Yong's phone rang. Glancing at the caller ID, he noted it was Gu Yeqing and promptly answered. Hello, Mr. Gu. Since learning of Gu Yeqing's identity, Tao Yong and Oppo's tone had shifted to one of respect and reverence. Gu Yeqing hesitated momentarily but dismissed it, directly asking, Deputy Chief Tao, are you familiar with the Dragon Gang? The Dragon Gang? Tao Yong was taken aback, considering Gu Yeqing had only recently arrived in Kyoto. It was unusual for him to be aware of such a group. He glanced at Ma Lin, puzzled by Gu Yeqing and Oppo's sudden inquiry. I am aware. What of it? Tao Yong responded. I was recently ambushed by a formidable individual who claimed to be named Phantom. Do you know him? Gu Yeqing's tone was casual, as if the encounter with an 8th-rank peak warrior held no particular significance to him. In the conference room, silence fell as everyone exchanged glances, the atmosphere growing tense. Ma Lin was taken aback, realizing Gu Yeqing had encountered one of the Dragon Gang's enforcers, and anxiety gripped him. The Dragon Gang was notorious in Kyoto, wielding immense power and ruthless tactics, constantly seeking opportunities to eradicate this malignant force. Yet they had found no such chance, and now Gu Yeqing had crossed paths with them. Mr. Gu, this is Police Chief Ma Lin. Are you in any danger? Ma Lin inquired urgently. He understood the importance of Gu Yeqing. If anything happened to him, it would spell disaster, not only for their mission but also for his career. Not at all. They only sent an 8th rank peak warrior, whom I have already dealt with. His body is on the road. I will provide you with an address for you to inspect. Gu Yeqing's calm words dropped like a bombshell, leaving the room in stunned silence. They could hardly believe Gu Yeqing had so effortlessly dispatched an enforcer of the Dragon Gang, deepening their reverence for his strength. In truth, the Dragon Gang is a vast underground organization in Kyoto, capable of undertaking any task within its reach, even murder. We have been tirelessly devoted to combating the criminal activities of the Dragon Gang. However, they have established numerous informants in plain sight, weaving an impenetrable net that repeatedly thwarts the police's endeavors, yielding negligible results. Ma Lin let out a sigh, his voice tinged with exhaustion. Feeling helpless. We can only silently persevere in the darkness, waiting for an opportunity. Gu Yeqing drove towards Qingbei University. Having just learned from Ma Lin about the existence of the Dragon Gang and their nefarious deeds, gaining a rudimentary understanding of their operations. Qingbei University, a renowned institution of higher learning, nurtures countless hopes and dreams. By the time Gu Yeqing arrived at the university, it was already 11:30 in the morning. He purchased 4 cups of fruit tea and 3 cups of milk tea, making his way directly to the military training ground. The sun blazed high in the sky, radiating intense heat. On the training field, a group of students maintained various postures under the strict supervision of their instructor, their clothes soaked with sweat. At 11:30, the students were finally allowed to rest, and Gu Yeqing's arrival instantly captured everyone's attention. Rain Tong, do you see who that is? One of Xia Yutong's roommates exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with surprise. Following her roommate's gaze, Xia Yutong beheld an extraordinarily handsome man striding towards her, a gentle smile gracing his lips, exuding an unparalleled charm. Gu Yeqing's presence was akin to a refreshing breeze, dispelling the stifling heat of the training ground. During this time, several girls mustered the courage to approach him, hoping to catch his attention, but he graciously declined each advance with a smile. Isn't that old Gu? Qi Zichuan remarked, somewhat speechless upon seeing Gu Yeqing. They had also wished to request leave from military training, but the teacher had directly called their homes, compelling them to comply. Indeed, that's him, Mu Xiaohing said, watching Gu Yeqing with envy. Whenever Gu Yeqing stood there, girls would flock to him. Although he too experienced such moments, the disparity between him and Gu Yeqing was insurmountable. What do you think he is here for? Zhang Ziyuan asked curiously. Need it be said? He's obviously here to find our freshman campus belle, Xia Yutong. I've heard that Xia Yutong's dorm also houses another beauty, Xian Yinxi, who is also a campus belle. Truly envious of old Gu. Old Pao mused with a hint of nostalgia. You could pursue Xian Yinxi too. She is also a freshman campus belle. Her beauty is top-notch. Mu Xiaohing teased. I'm aware of my own limitations, old Pao replied with a resigned look. Gu Yeqing approached Xia Yutong, handing her a bag containing 4 cups of fruit tea. Xia Yutong understood immediately, accepting the drinks and distributing 3 of them to her roommates. Gu Yeqing gently ruffled her hair and asked with concern, are you tired? Blushing, Xia Yutong did not reject his affectionate gesture. Instead, she grasped his hand tightly and replied with a smile, not at all. I feel quite fulfilled. Witnessing this scene, everyone around them felt their hearts shatter. They had been observing Xia Yutong, ultimately bestowing upon her the title of the aloof campus goddess, a topic of much discussion on forums. Yet, her current demeanor was reminiscent of a shy girl, starkly contrasting with the cool faade they had previously witnessed. Tong Tong, it seems you are quite popular. Gu Yeqing chuckled softly, causing Xia Yutong to feel a mix of shyness and helplessness. I can't help it. I never wished to stand out this much. Xia Yutong gazed at the scenery beyond the training field, speaking softly. I can't believe Rain Tong would say such a thing. Fong Baiwei exclaimed, her expression one of astonishment, as they shared the same dorm. It was the first time she had seen this side of Xia Yutong. It's likely that she only shows this side in front of someone, Xian Yinxi remarked, sipping her fruit tea and teasingly adding, I've heard they attend the same school and even sit at adjacent desks. I wonder how they got together. Huang Zhitong looked at the pair enviously, her curiosity piqued. Who do you think chased whom? Fong Baiwei pressed. It should be Gu Yeqing pursuing Xia Tong. Huang Zhitong replied thoughtfully, glancing at the couple. Let us go eat together. Gu Yeqing said to Xia Yutong with a warm smile. His fingers lightly brushed through her hair, an intimate gesture that left Xia Yutong blushing. This moment incited envy among those around them. Every man wished to scold Gu Yeqing, yet each aspired to be him. Can I bring my roommates along? We plan to go together today, Xia Yutong asked with a hint of playful pleading. This side of her was utterly irresistible to Gu Yeqing. Well, it's fine if you two go, Fong Baiwei chimed in quickly, fully aware of their dynamic and that her roommates would merely serve as background figures when Gu Yeqing and Xia Yutong were together. Not a problem, let us all go. Gu Yeqing replied with a smile, then turned to Xia Yutong, saying, I'll have Yin prepare everything. Afterward, He picked up his phone and called Zhang Yun to explain the situation and make arrangements. Rest assured, came Zhang Yun's gentle voice from the other end of the line. Chapter 325, Dining Together. Thank you, Sister Yun. Xia Yutong smiled faintly. She held a deep affection for Zhang Yun, which naturally led to their frequent conversations. Zhang Yun's gentle and considerate nature always provided Xia Yutong with the care and assistance she needed, fostering a profound trust between them and intensifying their bond. Is it all right if I invite my roommates along? Gu Yechen gazed at Xia Yutong, a hint of fondness in his eyes as he inquired. Of course, absolutely. Huang Zhitong immediately replied, her straightforward and forthright demeanor prompting her unhesitating agreement to Gu Yechen's suggestion. Since they were all friends, it seemed perfectly normal for Gu Yechen's roommates to join in. After all, gathering together was a splendid opportunity to strengthen their relationships. All right, it's settled then. I'll wait for you all at the school gate after class, Gu Yechen said, smiling as he looked at Xia Yutong's roommates. He exchanged a meaningful glance with Xian Yinshi, nodding in anticipation for the gathering. After the military training concluded, Gu Yechen and Xia Yutong, accompanied by their respective roommates, headed to Shingen Hotel. Zhang Yun had been waiting there for quite some time. She had meticulously chosen an elegant private room for their meal, pre-ordering many of the dishes that people loved, solely to surprise Xia Yutong in celebration of the end of her military training. Ah Chen, you finally made it. Zhang Yun exclaimed with a radiant smile upon seeing Gu Yechen and the others, her eyes brimming with warmth and longing. Yun, you've worked hard. Gu Yechen gently hugged Zhang Yun and kissed her forehead, his voice laced with affection. Their deep bond was palpable. Even a glance or gesture could convey their mutual feelings. We're all friends here. No need for formality, Zhang Yun said. Her cheeks flushed as she waved her hand dismissively, leading everyone into the private room. She then enthusiastically encouraged everyone to sit down and introduce the dishes, inviting them to indulge freely. Let this meal serve as a celebration for Yutong's completion of military training, Gu Yechen said tenderly, his eyes filled with adoration as he looked at Xia Yutong. Upon hearing this, Xia Yutong's face lit up with a blissful smile, her eyes shimmering with emotion. Great. I won't hold back then, Xia Yutong joyfully declared as she settled beside Zhang Yun, her anticipation evident. The dishes before her were mostly her favorites, and she could hardly wait to savor them. However, Fang Baiwei and the others looked at Gu Yechen and Zhang Yun with puzzled expressions. They were bewildered by the fact that Gu Yechen had embraced another girl and even kissed her right in front of Xia Yutong, who seemed unperturbed by it all. What do you think this is all about? Fang Baiwei couldn't help but whisper, but the others merely shook their heads, equally baffled. Mu Xiaoheng and his companions gazed at Zhang Yun with envy directed at Gu Yechen. They had not anticipated that Gu Yechen would be surrounded by such beautiful women, including Xia Yutong and Zhang Yun, which sparked a sense of admiration among them. Hey, you little rascals, don't let Ah Chun drink too much, Zhang Yun teased, eliciting laughter from everyone. You all know my drinking capacity. I could drink you all under the table, Gu Yechen remarked with a playful grin, his tone brimming with confidence and pride. Renowned for his exceptional tolerance for alcohol, he was ready to uphold that reputation. As the drinks flowed and the dishes were savored, the atmosphere was lively and joyous. Gu Yechen and Xia Yutong sat aside, while Zhang Yun observed the students with a sense of nostalgia. Having been young and in university herself, she understood the importance of education. Watching the vibrant camaraderie among the youth brought back memories of her own youthful days, filling her heart with reflection. Yet, just as everyone was immersed in the joyful ambience, Gu Yechen's phone suddenly rang. He glanced at the screen and saw it was a call from Ma Lin. Frowning slightly, he answered the call. Ma Lin, the head of the police department, held considerable authority, and the unexpected call stirred a sense of foreboding within Gu Yechen. Yechen, we have a situation, Ma Lin's voice came through the line. Urgent and tinged with tension. What happened? Gu Yechen asked, his tone becoming serious as he sensed the gravity of the situation. The Dragon Gang is planning a major move after learning about the death of Gu Ying. We suspect they may target you. However, we lack concrete evidence. The leader of the Dragon Gang is reportedly at the 9th tier, so please do not act impulsively, Ma Lin warned, concern evident in his voice. The Dragon Gang, a local criminal organization, had long been a scourge, and their newfound focus on Gu Yechen after Gu Ying's demise left Ma Lin deeply worried for his safety. After a brief silence, Gu Yechen replied, I was hoping they would come out. If they dare to show up, I will ensure they leave without a trace. His voice carried a cold edge, his gaze sharpening with resolve. He had anticipated that the Dragon Gang might come after him, though he hadn't expected them to act so swiftly. Nevertheless, Gu Yechen was unafraid. He possessed the strength to face their challenges. If you need assistance, just say the word. The highest combat capability at the station is an 8th tier warrior. They should be able to help you, Ma Lin said gravely, aware of the impending confrontation that Gu Yechen would face. While he had faith in Gu Yechen's abilities, he still wished to offer his support to ensure his safety. There's no need to worry. As long as they aren't above the 9th tier, I'll be fine, Gu Yechen reassured with a smile, aiming to comfort Ma Lin. He was aware that he had reached the brink of the ninth tier himself, so he regarded the Dragon Gang leader and Appo's ninth tier status with indifference. The food at Shingen Hotel is truly exceptional. It's absolutely delicious, Fong Baiwei exclaimed, savoring a sip of soup, her face glowing with satisfaction. She had always enjoyed gourmet food, and the delightful dishes at Shingen Hotel brought her immense joy. If you like it, feel free to come often. Considering my little Yutong, I can offer you a 30% discount, Gu Yechen said, casting a glance at Fong Baiwei, who was taken aback by his generosity. She had not expected such a significant discount, leaving her pleasantly surprised. After all, Shungen Hotel rarely offered such reductions, as they were never short of clientele. Is Shungen Hotel really yours? Those unaware of the situation stared at Gu Yechen, astonished. Shungen Hotel was renowned as a high-end establishment in Kyoto, and they could hardly believe that he was the owner. Indeed, Gu Yechen nodded, appearing harmless and unassuming. He had no intention of boasting. He merely answered their inquiries straightforwardly. Yutong, you really should have mentioned this remarkable background of yours. Huang Jitong teased Xia Yutong, her tone laced with playful sarcasm. She had just discovered that Sheng and Appo's hotel was backed by Sheng and Appo's Group, and to her astonishment, the legal representative was none other than Gu Yechen. This revelation left her utterly speechless. She never imagined that Xia Yutong's boyfriend harbored such a powerful background, which stirred a pang of envy within her. Xia Yutong responded with a smile. Well, you never asked. She felt no sense of impropriety. In fact, she considered Gu Yechen and Appo's background to be a part of their relationship, unbothered by the idea of revealing it. To her, Gu Yechen and Appo's identity would not affect their pure feelings. Rather, it was a source of pride. Mu Xiaoheng swallowed hard, cautiously inquiring, Old Gu, the chairman of Sheng and Appo's Group shares your name. You two aren't and Appo's the same person, are you? He was acutely aware of Sheng and Appo's Group and Appo's immense power. Being the largest logistics company in the nation, with numerous storage facilities nationwide, and a significant presence in various industries, including tourism. He could hardly believe that Gu Yechen was actually the chairman of the Sheng and Appo's Group. This revelation left him utterly astonished. As if he were standing at the pinnacle of a commercial empire, overlooking the entire industry. Gu Yechen gently patted the heads of Xia Yutong and Zhang Yun, his actions appearing completely natural and unbiased towards either of them. This gesture revealed to all present the close bond among Gu Yechen, Xia Yutong, and Zhang Yun, igniting curiosity about the complexities of their relationships. Such a candid display silently spoke volumes about their profound emotional connections, evoking intrigue and speculation from onlookers. A group of people watched Gu Yechen's maneuver with expressions of shock. Could it be that Xia Yutong was involved with someone else? They hesitated to entertain that thought. However, considering Gu Yechen and Appo's formidable stature, they felt that perhaps it was not so scandalous after all. His strength and background instilled in them a sense of confidence that he could manage these emotional entanglements without jeopardizing their friendship. In their minds, Gu Yechen resembled a powerful figure capable of mastering any emotional turmoil, ensuring that their camaraderie remained untouched. After all, who could dispute the capabilities of a wealthy man? After witnessing Gu Yechen's actions, Lao Pao, with envy etched on his face, inquired, Hey, Brother Gu, care to introduce us? He was eager to understand the dynamics between Gu Yechen, Xia Yutong, and Zhang Yun, as it pertained to their future interactions. He yearned for details to better integrate into this circle and forge a more solid friendship with Gu Yechen and others. Gu Yechen offered little elaboration, simply stating, This is Zhang Yun, my first woman. His frankness took everyone by surprise, yet it solidified their trust in him. His words were concise and clear, exuding a sense of openness and sincerity that convinced them of his honesty. Fong Baiwei, with a hint of concern, asked, And what is your relationship with Yutong? Since you already have a woman, why pursue Yutong? Why treat her this way? She feared that Xia Yutong might be hurt, unwilling to witness her friend entangled in a potentially painful romance. Her gaze was filled with concern as she fixed her eyes on Gu Yechen, awaiting his response. Gu Yechen regarded Fong Baiwei and replied, Yutong is also my woman. I care for both of them and will not show favoritism. He felt a sense of appreciation. For Fong Baiwei was one who dared to speak up for Xia Yutong even after learning of his identity. He admired her courage and sense of justice. Grateful for her concern for Xia Yutong, Xian Yinchi, observing Gu Yechen's nonchalance, found her impression of him diminishing. In her view, his simultaneous relationships with multiple women were unacceptable. She could not comprehend how he could face it all so calmly, harboring disdain and contempt for him. Upon hearing Gu Yechen and Appo's words, Xia Yutong and Appo's cheeks flushed, and she became bashful. Witnessing Xia Yutong and Appo's reaction, Fong Baiwei placed her hand on her forehead, speechless. She had not anticipated that Xia Yutong would so readily accept Gu Yechen's unconventional emotional arrangement, causing her concern to swell. Yet she found herself at a loss for how to advise her. After satisfying their appetites, the gathering dispersed. Gu Yechen drove Xia Yutong and Xian Yinchi back to school. while the others were arranged for transportation by a driver, as they had all indulged in drinks. Gu Yeqing attentively cared for everyone, ensuring their safe return to their respective abodes, earning him even greater admiration for his thoughtfulness and consideration. Once back in the dormitory, it was time to rest and rejuvenate. Gu Yeqing looked at Xia Yutong with eyes full of tenderness, softly advising her, as if fearing any mishap that might harm her. Xia Yutong nodded, waved goodbye to Gu Yeqing, and then followed Xia Nianqi to rest. Her figure gradually faded into the night, leaving Gu Yeqing standing alone, a smile adorning his face. Having completed all tasks, Gu Yeqing proceeded directly to the laboratory. He had pressing matters to attend to, not a moment to waste. Inside the brightly lit laboratory at Qingbei University, several professors and team members were tirelessly working, their eyes reflecting a fervent dedication to science. Day after day, they diligently analyzed the various data provided by Gu Yeqing, manufacturing exoskeleton equipment. Yet, the equipment they produced paled in comparison to Gu Yeqing's own, leaving them perplexed and anxious. As Gu Yeqing entered, he squinted at the equipment they had created. In truth, the professors and team members possessed remarkable abilities. They simply lacked sufficient experience with exoskeleton technology and needed more practice and exploration. He understood the arduous journey of scientific research and empathized with their current confusion. Gu Xiaoyu, you have arrived. Please come and help us assess the situation, Lin Hua said gravely, looking at Gu Yeqing. They had been comparing their equipment to Gu Yeqing's and found a significant disparity, which left them feeling quite disheartened. They were eager for Gu Yeqing's guidance and assistance to help them overcome their present challenges. Chapter 326. The mech is 90% complete, obtaining the Qi refinement technique? Gu Yeqing approached with a steady gait, momentarily taken aback by the scene before him. The equipment had indeed taken shape, yet under his discerning gaze, numerous issues became glaringly apparent. The materials were evidently substandard, coarse in texture, and the performance metrics fell far short of the stringent requirements for exoskeletal gear. The operation of the production line was also far from optimal, with evident flaws in the process that resulted in the finished equipment failing to meet the anticipated quality and performance standards. Gu Yeqing meticulously scrutinized every detail with his void vision. Overall, it was promising, but the materials did not comply with the standards for exoskeletal equipment. He raised his head, looking at Lin Hua, and spoke calmly. His voice was steady, lacking any ulterior motives. He merely articulated the issues he observed. He was acutely aware that to manufacture high-quality exoskeletal gear, the quality of the materials was paramount, a critical factor that allowed no room for negligence. Gu Xiaoyu, do you have any suggestions for improvement? Could you share them with us? Lin Hua inquired eagerly, his eyes glimmering with anticipation. The fact that Gu Yeqing could pinpoint the problems so incisively indicated that he must possess viable solutions. In Lin Hua and Appo's mind, Gu Yeqing was akin to an omnipotent scientific genius. With his intervention, no problem was insurmountable. Frankly, I have already contributed significantly. If you cannot even fabricate the obvious materials, it seems unlikely that you will meet the most basic requirements in the near future, Gu Yeqing replied, unperturbed by the presence of three professors. In his eyes, he had provided comprehensive documentation, yet the results had not even met fundamental standards, leading him to feel that the progress of the exoskeleton project was indeed sluggish. Perhaps even more so than if he had undertaken it alone. You are right, but I can't end Appo's to shake the feeling that the materials we produce cannot compare to yours. I am eager to know how your equipment is manufactured. May I ask? Lin Hua and Appo's voice trembled with urgency and desire, firmly believing that Gu Yeqing must have unique insights. Very well, follow me. Gu Yeqing sighed, shaking his head in resignation, and led Lin Hua and the others to a location where materials were produced. In what appeared to be an ordinary laboratory, Gu Yeqing produced a key, unlocked the door, and slowly pushed it open, stepping inside first. Behind him trailed 6 or 7 individuals, their eyes fixated on Gu Yeqing, eagerly anticipating his next actions. My goodness! Upon entering, Lin Hua and the others were instantly captivated, their eyes alight with wonder as if they had discovered a rare treasure. Mr. Gu, what is this? It seems extraordinary. Lin Hua inhaled deeply, striving to quell his excitement, for he had keenly sensed that the items before him were indeed the keys they had longed for. This is a workshop for producing materials, Gu Yeqing stated plainly. Without pretense, Lin Hua and his team were ecstatic, immediately dispatching personnel to begin testing and analysis. Meanwhile, Gu Yeqing gradually rose, preparing to take his leave. Are you leaving? Lin Hua asked, unable to contain his curiosity as he watched Gu Yeqing stand. I have other research to attend to. You will have to manage here. But the materials are limited. Once they are used up, you will need to conduct your own research, Gu Yeqing replied decisively, exiting without hesitation, heading straight for his own laboratory. Within the laboratory, Gu Yeqing retained a manufacturing line. He gazed at the imposing mech before him, his eyes brimming with pride and joy, his heart soaring with delight. This was the fruit of his close collaboration with the system, a culmination of his efforts. Gu Yechen meticulously selected various items from the system's store, preparing for the final assembly of the mech. At that moment, something randomly appeared in the system's store caught his attention. The Qi refinement technique? Gu Yechen stared at the mysterious item priced at a staggering trillion. His heart filled with astonishment, a flurry of thoughts flashing through his mind. Could this be the opportunity that would set him on the path to immortality? System, what is the meaning of this Qi refinement technique? Gu Yechen inquired anxiously, his voice tinged with urgency. Oh, that? It's the foundational entry into the realm of immortality. The system lazily yawned, responding with a leisurely tone. Does its appearance mean I can use it? Gu Yechen asked, his voice trembling with hope. He had long dreamed of becoming an immortal, yet found himself in a parallel world akin to his previous life, rather than in a realm of cultivation or fantasy. He had believed that this life would leave him devoid of such aspirations, yet now a glimmer of hope had emerged. Normally, there would be no issue. But this system has sensed that the spiritual energy in this world is scarce. Unless I assist you in enhancing your cultivation, you may only reach the golden core stage at best, the system replied nonchalantly. The golden core stage? Wouldn't that make me unrivaled? Gu Yechen exclaimed, a mix of shock and elation washing over him as he immediately purchased the Qi refinement technique without hesitation. Eagerly, Gu Yechen unrolled the scroll, and an overwhelming surge of energy flooded into his mind, causing his body to tremble involuntarily. Before long, Gu Yechen comprehended the fundamentals of the Qi refinement technique. He sat cross-legged, focusing intently on the technique, attempting to sense the flow of heavenly spiritual energy. Alas, he could not perceive even a trace of spiritual energy. After sitting in meditation for 2.5 hours, he had achieved no results, failing to detect even a hint of spiritual energy. Indeed, it was an era of spiritual scarcity. It seemed that he would have to venture to remote areas or mountain summits to seek his fortune. Gu Yechen spent several more hours diligently refining the mech. Through his relentless efforts, he had completed approximately 90% of the assembly. Just a tad more was needed to finalize the entire mech, and his heart brimmed with anticipation. System, I believe next time you could simply provide me with what I desire. Our collaboration would undoubtedly yield mutual benefits. Gu Yechen communicated with the system in his mind, hopeful for a favorable response. Don't hold your breath. While this system fears nothing, perhaps if I'm in a good mood, I might reward you. The system retorted, continuing its indifferent manner. Gu Yechen shook his head in resignation, deciding to set aside his bargaining with the system. He rose from the laboratory, preparing to head into the secluded forest to continue practicing the Qi refinement technique. He was convinced that with perseverance, he would eventually uncover that elusive strand of spiritual energy and embark on his journey of immortality. Time passed unnoticed, and when Gu Yechen finally gazed up at the sky, he realized it was already 7 in the evening. He drove his Mercedes G-Class towards the outskirts, his heart set on a singular goal, finding a towering mountain. Ideally a range of undulating peaks. According to the map, there were numerous targets. Speeding along the road alone, without any bodyguards, Gu Yechen finally arrived deep within the forest, where tranquility enveloped him. The only sounds were the occasional chirping of birds and the gentle rustle of the wind, infusing the serene environment with vitality. He sought a relatively spacious clearing, swiftly erecting a tent before sitting cross-legged outside, closing his eyes to take deep breaths, striving to calm his mind. Then, he activated the Qi refinement technique, beginning to sense the heavenly spiritual energy for his cultivation. Moonlight cascaded upon Gu Yechen like a veil of silver, bestowing a soft glow upon his attire, rendering him ethereal and dreamlike. The gentle night breeze caressed his hair as time slipped by in his meditative practice, moment by moment. As Gu Yechen was on the verge of despair, he suddenly sensed a faint trickle of spiritual energy slowly flowing into his body. Though this energy was minimal, Gu Yechen detected it with remarkable acuity. To him, it was akin to a glimmer of dawn amidst darkness, filling him with exhilaration. At last it has arrived. Gu Yechen rejoiced internally, hastening to enhance his perception, wholeheartedly absorbing this thread of energy while meticulously guiding it within his body, gradually solidifying the foundation of his newly embarked path in cultivation. However, just as Gu Yechen was immersed in the euphoria of his practice, a cacophony of noise abruptly shattered the tranquility of the forest. Furrowing his brow, he slowly opened his eyes. His mind puzzled. What could possibly cause a commotion in this desolate wilderness? Gu Yechen rose to his feet and began to walk towards the source of the sound, activating his void-breaking eye to swiftly scan his surroundings. Moments later, he halted, a smile gracing his lips as he softly uttered, "Since you are here, why not reveal yourself?" From the shadows, a round of applause echoed, and a man stepped forth, gazing at Gu Yechen with a serious demeanor. "Your prowess is indeed formidable, Mr. Gu. Few can dispel my concealment technique so swiftly. You are the first to detect my presence upon my arrival." Cloaked entirely in darkness, only his eyes were visible. Yet the murderous intent emanating from him was unmistakable, his gaze towards Gu Yechen grave. "Who are you? What do you seek from me?" Gu Yechen inquired, pouring a cup of tea and savoring a sip, the aroma wafting pleasantly. Observing Gu Yechen's demeanor, the man in black fell into silence. Uncertain whether Gu Yechen and Apos' calmness was genuine or a mere facade. I am here to take your life and turn this place into your grave, the man in black scoffed, unwilling to accept the notion of Gu Yechen and Apos' considerable strength. Oh, Gu Yechen narrowed his eyes and continued, what exactly are you planning? Have you gathered any information prior to your arrival? A smirk crept upon Gu Yechen's lips as he heard the man's claims. I do not know how you vanquished the phantom, but you shall obediently comply with me. With that, a powerful aura erupted from within him, revealing him as a peak 8th tier warrior, significantly stronger than the phantom. A warrior? The phantom? So you are from the Dragon Gang? Gu Yechen stood, brushing off the dust from his clothes, a pleased smile adorning his face. The man in black paused momentarily before responding. It seems you are quite informed. But that only seals your fate. As soon as the words left his lips, the man in black lunged towards Gu Yechen with astonishing speed, wielding a blade aimed at Gu Yechen's neck, a lethal strike from the outset. Gu Yechen squinted, effortlessly evading the attack by sidestepping. No sooner had he landed than another slash followed. Gu Yechen delivered a kick to the man's wrist, diminishing his offensive momentum. Impressive speed, but you have chosen the wrong opponent. Gu Yechen smiled faintly, charging towards the man in black. As the latter perceived Gu Yechen's swift approach, he felt a jolt of alarm. He was certain that Gu Yechen surpassed him in speed. Upon closing in, Gu Yechen unleashed a palm strike, unleashing a powerful wave of energy. Given Gu Yechen's strength, a hit from that palm would undoubtedly inflict considerable damage. The man in black's pupils widened in shock as he hastily dodged. With his initial attack thwarted, Gu Yechen executed a sweeping kick, catching the man off guard and sending him sprawling with a barrage of 8 extremes fist strikes. Cough, cough. The man in black was taken aback. He had not anticipated Gu Yechen's formidable power. His strength surpassed that of the phantom, yet in a single encounter, he was floored by Gu Yechen's 8 extremes fist. He could distinctly feel the severity of his injuries. Not bad, not bad. To withstand 5/10 of my 8 extremes fist and remain standing indicates your prowess is commendable. Gu Yechen remarked, a smile playing on his lips, though it was not seen as a good omen by the man in black. Now, do tell. Which member of the Dragon Gang are you? Gu Yechen inquired, fixing his gaze upon the man. My name is Jifeng, the first Hall Master under the Dragon Gang. The man in black stated, revealing his identity. I have heard of your impressive abilities, and it seems they are indeed formidable, but only slightly superior to mine. Wiping blood from the corner of his mouth, Jifeng rose, his eyes reflecting disdain as he regarded Gu Yechen. Gu Yechen smiled slightly, taking his time to respond while scrutinizing Jifeng. Standing at approximately 185 meters, Jifeng possessed a robust physique, his muscles well-defined, clearly a product of rigorous training. His gaze revealed a fierce intensity, as if ready to unleash tremendous combat prowess at any moment. Gu Yechen understood that the Dragon Gang, being a local power, boasted members whose abilities were not to be underestimated, and as the first Hall Master, Jifeng undoubtedly possessed remarkable skill. Jifeng, do you genuinely believe you are only slightly inferior to me? Gu Yechen asked softly, a hint of mockery in his tone. Jifeng scoffed, responding, Gu Yechen, I am aware of your strength, but do not underestimate me. I am here to demonstrate that the Dragon Gang is not easily trifled with. Gu Yechen shook his head, saying, Jifeng, you are mistaken. It is not that I underestimate you. Rather, you fail to grasp your own capabilities. You are merely a peak 8th tier warrior. While I am already on the cusp of a 9th tier, I am unafraid to disclose that our disparity is not trivial, for while you are warriors, I have embarked on the path of cultivation. I shall become a cultivator. Chapter 327. Confrontation. Upon hearing Gu Yechen's words, Jifeng's expression darkened instantaneously, reflecting an extreme displeasure. Deep down, he understood that he was merely a martial artist, while Gu Yechen had already embarked on the path of immortality, creating an insurmountable chasm between them. Yet, his inherent pride and the dignity of being the first leader of the Dragon Gang fueled his refusal to bow down or concede defeat easily. Gu Yechen, even if you are an immortal, what does it matter? Today, I shall demonstrate my prowess. Jifeng's eyes widened in fury as he charged towards Gu Yechen once more, his blade glinting ominously in the moonlight, aimed directly at Gu Yechen's vital points with unstoppable force. Seeing this, Gu Yechen's lips curled into a slight smile, exuding an air of composure as he deftly evaded the onslaught with the grace of a specter. He refrained from countering immediately, instead adopting the demeanor of a seasoned hunter, calmly observing Jifeng's moves with keen insight. Although Jifeng's technique appeared fierce and formidable, to Gu Yechen's sharpened perception, honed by his piercing gaze, it revealed numerous flaws and weaknesses. Gu Yechen mused to himself that while Jifeng's strength was commendable among martial artists, it ultimately seemed juvenile and crude in the presence of a true master. After a series of relentless strikes from Jifeng, Gu Yechen shook his head lightly, a hint of disappointment flickering in his eyes. He found no intriguing skills or formidable power in Jifeng, prompting him to cease holding back and opted for a swift resolution. In an instant, he struck with the speed of lightning, precisely grasping Jifeng's blade. With a forceful twist of his fingers, a resounding crack echoed, and Jifeng's weapon was shattered in his grip. Jifeng, taken aback, was instantly consumed by fear and disbelief. He retreated hastily, attempting to create distance from Gu Yechen. However, Gu Yechen was swifter. Appearing before Jifeng like a shadow, and with a powerful palm strike, he struck Jifeng's chest. Jifeng felt an overwhelming force surge through him, akin to an irresistible torrent that demolished his defenses. His body was propelled backward, akin to a kite severed from its string, crashing heavily onto the ground and stirring up a cloud of dust. He struggled to rise, but the excruciating pain in his chest felt as if 1,000 arrows pierced his heart, rendering him utterly immobile. Despair and bitterness filled his heart as he finally comprehended how utterly vulnerable he was before Gu Yechen. This defeat was one he accepted with humility. Gu Yechen approached Jifeng leisurely, looking down at him with an air of authority and indifference. Jifeng, he stated, remember, this capital is not solely the domain of your dragon gang. Today, I impart upon you a profound lesson that I hope you will etch into your memory. A slight smirk adorned Gu Yechen's lips, devoid of any compassion or pity. He understood that mercy towards an enemy equates to cruelty towards oneself. He was not so benevolent as to release a tiger back into the wild, leaving room for future troubles. Jifeng, with great difficulty, lifted his head to gaze at Gu Yechen, resentment and hatred flickering in his eyes. Yet, he was acutely aware that he had lost all capability for resistance in that moment. The power Gu Yechen exhibited surpassed his wildest dreams, leaving him feeling profoundly helpless. He resigned himself to endure the humiliation and defeat, silently vowing to seek vengeance in a future life. Without hesitation, Gu Yechen struck decisively, incapacitating Jifeng's meridians and martial prowess, shattering his bones, leaving only a breath of life within him. He then turned away, returning to his tent with an air of nonchalance. Seated cross-legged once more, Gu Yechen resumed his practice of the qi refinement technique, fully attuned to the spiritual energy around him, diligently absorbing the ambient qi. He understood that although he had fortuitously stepped onto the threshold of immortality, a long journey lay ahead to truly become a formidable force. He must persistently cultivate his abilities to establish a firm footing in this world, fraught with unknown dangers, to protect himself and those dear to him. As night deepened, tranquility returned to the forest. Outside his tent, Gu Yechen practiced, bathed in moonlight that cascaded upon him like a silvery veil. In stark contrast, Jifeng lay on the ground not far away, silently enduring his torment. Blood soaked his body, continuously flowing from his wounds, staining the earth beneath him. Teetering on the brink of death, Gu Yechen felt increasingly attuned to the spiritual energy, discerning that the night's qi was indeed richer than that of the day, enabling him to absorb it more smoothly and swiftly. As the energy circulated within him, subtle yet wondrous changes began to manifest in his body. Gu Yechen sat firmly, the qi washing over his meridians like a crystal-clear stream, cleansing a riverbed of impurities. At that moment, with a shift in his hand seals, it felt as though an invisible shackle within him had been shattered, unleashing a powerful surge of spiritual energy that radiated from his being. I have succeeded, Gu Yechen exclaimed, astonished by the transformation within him, realizing he had unexpectedly attained the 9th layer of qi refinement, just a step away from the mysterious and potent foundation establishment realm. Elation coursed through him as he rose, tightly clenching his fists, feeling the subtle currents of spiritual energy flowing within him, alongside a newfound strength of mental acuity. Yet, he remained perplexed as to how he had achieved this direct breakthrough to the 9th layer. System. Do you know why I have advanced directly to the 9th layer of qi refinement? Gu Yechen pondered, deciding to seek an answer from the system. The host's accumulated essence from a peak 8th tier martial artist has been entirely converted into spiritual energy by this system, hence the breakthrough to the 9th layer. Such a privilege is not afforded to ordinary individuals. The system's emotionless voice resonated in Gu Yechen's mind, dispelling his doubts in an instant. So that is how it is. Gu Yechen felt a rush of excitement, his eyes gleaming with determination, brimming with confidence for the path of immortality that lay ahead. Who wouldn't he desire to become an immortal? In his previous life, he had dreamt of soaring through the skies on a sword, exuding an air of grandeur. Suddenly, a faint sound of breathing interrupted his thoughts. Turning his head, Gu Yechen was taken aback. Surprisingly, you're still alive? He remarked blandly, yet his words were striking. Jifeng. Upon hearing Gu Yechen's words, nearly spat blood in fury, his eyes bloodshot, filled with venomous hatred as he glared at Gu Yechen, as if wishing to devour him whole. Why the hostility? You're on the verge of death, yet still regard me with such disdain. Gu Yechen shook his head, feeling a twinge of empathy for the suffering of others. He sighed softly and approached Jifeng, crouching down before him, and whispered, Brother, may you never encounter me again in the next life. With that, Gu Yechen gently touched Jifeng's forehead with his finger, causing Jifeng to shudder slightly before he succumbed to eternal silence. Do not thank me. Liberating you from your suffering is simply what I ought to do. Without a hint of emotion, Gu Yechen rose, returning to his meditative position, continuing to practice the qi refinement technique. In this era of scarce spiritual energy, the night offered the most abundant and precious time for cultivation. Gu Yechen secretly contemplated the construction of a villa in this serene locale. Sparing himself the hassle of erecting a tent each time he returned for cultivation, which would squander both time and energy. After a night of diligent practice, he felt a significant enhancement in his abilities. As the first rays of dawn filtered through the forest, he slowly opened his eyes, exhaling a breath of turbid air, a glimmer of brilliance flashing in his gaze. Rising to his feet, he stretched his limbs, causing a symphony of sounds to resonate throughout his body. After being nourished by spiritual energy, his bones felt remarkably resilient. Upon glancing at the time, Gu Yechen was startled to discover it was already 7 in the morning. He had unknowingly immersed himself in a full night of cultivation, lost in the exploration and comprehension of spiritual power, oblivious to the passage of time. System, could you possibly bestow upon me some techniques? Gu Yechen silently mused, aware that possessing spiritual energy without practical techniques was a precarious situation. Hence his thoughts turned to the all-encompassing system. According to the host's circumstances, various techniques can be purchased in the system's marketplace, or one may utilize lottery chances for a draw. Name, Gu Yechen. Age, 18. Realm, 9th layer of Qi Refinement Physique, None Technique, Qi Refinement Method. Divine Ability, None Spiritual Root, None Mental Power, within a radius of 200 meters. Appearance, 95. Special Abilities, Experienced Driver. Academic Prowess, Supreme Medical Skills, Extraordinary Combat Techniques, Elite Hacking Skills, Eye of Void Breaking, Golden Kidneys. Special Items, Purple Gold Black Card. Identity, Chairman of Leap Forward Company Limited, Chairman of Leap Group, Chairman of Shungen Group, Chairman of Shuyuexuan International Hotel, Shareholder of Blueprint Group, Owner of Century Plaza Shopping Center, Owner of Yunding Building, etc. Enhancement Points, 750 Lottery Chances, 6 System, Let me draw once. Gu Yechen, noticing he still had 6 chances left, decided to test his luck. Congratulations, host. You have received. Thank you for your patronage. Upon witnessing this outcome, a wave of fury surged through Gu Yechen, igniting a fire within him. He couldn't believe his misfortune. To draw thank you for your patronage was utterly disheartening, leaving him speechless, filled with disappointment and frustration. Continue the draw. Clenching his teeth, he thought it improbable that he would receive the same result again. The virtual roulette began to spin rapidly once more, and Gu Yechen pressed the stop button, only to be left dumbfounded as the pointer landed again on thank you for your patronage. Enraged, he abruptly closed the system's lottery wheel, choosing to divert his attention to the system marketplace instead. What he saw next brightened his spirits, for he discovered a plethora of alluring divine skills within the marketplace. Yellow Tier Technique, Thunderbolt Technique, a splendid name. Though its rank is somewhat low, Gu Yechen scrutinized the price. 1,000 billion was not exorbitant for him, so he purchased it without hesitation. The Thunderbolt Technique, once cultivated, would allow him to unleash a bolt of lightning from his hand to strike his target. System, let me draw again. After witnessing the divine skills in the marketplace, a flicker of hope reignited within him, compelling him to utilize another lottery chance. The wheel began to spin again, and this time, Gu Yechen refrained from hastily stopping it, instead patiently awaiting its automatic conclusion. Soon, the spinning slowed, and ultimately, the pointer gently halted at a segment marked Mysterious Gift Package. Mysterious? How intriguing. A wave of astonishment washed over Gu Yechen at this result. Typically, items bearing the word mysterious were anything but ordinary, causing his heart to race with anticipation and curiosity. System, open the Mysterious Gift Package. Gu Yechen, with a mix of trepidation, communicated with the system, opening the gift package. Congratulations, host, you have obtained the celestial grade dual spiritual roots of thunder and fire. Would you like to merge with the spiritual roots? The system's voice resonated in Gu Yechen's mind like a thunderclap, instantly elevating his excitement to new heights. Celestial grade spiritual roots, a legendary existence from novels, promised the potential for transcendence, provided he did not falter along the way. Yet, in this age of scarce spiritual energy, even possessing celestial roots would likely lead to arduous challenges ahead. Whether he could reach the nascent soul stage remained uncertain, unless the system showed benevolence. Merge. After a brief contemplation, Gu Yechen decided that it mattered little. At least he possessed celestial roots, while others might not even have a glimmer of hope. Merging spiritual roots for the host. In an instant, Gu Yechen felt as if struck by lightning. An overwhelming sensation of tearing swept through his entire being, as though an invisible force mercilessly tore at his soul. Even with his ironclad resolve, the excruciating pain rendered him gritting his teeth, struggling to endure the harrowing process of merging. For an ordinary person, this crushing agony would likely be unbearable, leading them to faint or even meet their demise. Finally, after an hour, a torrent of intense heat surged within Gu Yechen, akin to being engulfed in molten lava, mercilessly scorched by the searing flames. Chapter 328. Fusion of spiritual roots. The sky suddenly darkened, thick clouds enveloping the heavens as thunder roared and lightning flashed. Striking bolts of lightning brewed ferociously within the heavy, leaden clouds, resembling ferocious beasts poised to break free from their confines, ready to descend and consume all in their path. Gu Yechen gazed upward at the terrifying spectacle, an involuntary sense of impending crisis surging within him. It felt as though he might be obliterated by the wrathful lightning at any moment, that dreadful premonition tightening its grip around his heart. Congratulations, host, on a successful fusion. Fortunately, as the system's voice resonated, the violent storm of lightning began to dissipate. Gu Yechen collapsed to the ground like a puddle of lifeless mud, beads of sweat the size of peas glistening on his forehead, cascading down his cheeks. His complexion flushed deeply, akin to a ripe apple, his entire body radiating an alarming heat, as if he were being scorched by a fierce flame. Had a common person found themselves in such a predicament, they would surely have perished. His skin flickered with elusive traces of lightning, resembling mysterious runic imprints. Should anyone behold this scene, they would undoubtedly believe Gu Yechen was on the brink of death. After a prolonged moment, Gu Yechen finally managed to rise painfully from the ground, despite his body still feeling utterly exhausted. Every muscle aching and every bone feeling as if it had been struck by a heavy hammer. The pain was unbearable. Yet, his eyes sparkled with an uncontrollable excitement. With this extraordinary dual spiritual root, I am destined to traverse further along the path of cultivation, Gu Yechen silently vowed. Determined to overcome the myriad challenges of this resource-scarce era and embark on the supreme path of immortality, achieving extraordinary feats that would astound the world. At that moment, Gu Yechen suddenly sensed subtle and ineffable changes in the surrounding spiritual energy. He quickly calmed his mind, focusing intently on his perception, and was elated to discover that his ability to sense and absorb spiritual energy had been significantly enhanced. The efficacy of this spiritual root is indeed remarkable. Gu Yechen and Apos' heart swelled with joy, the elation flooding through him like a torrent unleashed from a dam. With the awakening of his spiritual root, his sensitivity and precision in sensing spiritual energy had greatly improved. Without hesitation, he crossed his legs once more, closed his eyes, and began to circulate the chi refining technique, wholly engrossed in absorbing the thin spiritual energy around him. As waves of spiritual energy continuously flowed into his body, Gu Yechen became enveloped in a gentle, ethereal glow, as though draped in a veil of mystery. He was completely immersed in this exquisite sensation, forgetting all weariness and troubles, as if the entire world had condensed down to just him and the wisps of spiritual energy. However, such blissful moments are fleeting, and soon Gu Yechen found himself unable to sense the presence of spiritual energy any longer. In this era of scarcity, cultivating truly seemed an insurmountable challenge. With a soft sigh, Gu Yechen realized it was time for him to depart for school. At Qingbei University, the military training had concluded successfully, and the academic year had officially commenced. Gu Yechen switched to a sleek sports car, racing towards the campus with the swiftness of the wind. Are you blind? Look at what you've done to my car. Outside the teaching building, a group of people had formed a circle. A slightly chubby man, wearing glasses and visibly enraged, pointed an accusing finger at a girl. The girl's eyes glistened with unshed tears as she timidly gazed at the damaged sports car. Her worn backpack slung over her shoulder, dressed in faded clothing that betrayed her humble background. I'm so sorry, it was unintentional, she stammered, her voice trembling with endless regret and fear. She never anticipated that on the very first day of school, she would encounter such misfortune. After enduring countless hardships to gain admission to Qingbei University, she had arrived with hopes and dreams, only to face this unfortunate incident on her first day. I won't waste my breath on you. This car costs hundreds of thousands. If you compensate me with 10,000, we can consider this matter settled. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude, the bespectacled man barked, his voice harsh. In truth, his car had changed hands multiple times and was worth only a fraction of what he claimed, yet he relished the chance to show off, particularly on the first day of school, as it enhanced his image in front of others. Upon hearing the demand for 10,000, the girl turned as pale as a sheet. Her entire month's allowance barely amounted to 150, forcing her to count every penny. Furthermore, on the first day of school, she hadn't yet found a part-time job, leaving her utterly bereft of the means to pay. Desperation washed over her, leaving her adrift. Could you lower the amount? I can pay in installments. I truly cannot come up with that much money right now, she pleaded, her eyes misting, her voice cracking with emotion. She was already mentally calculating how to seek immediate employment after class. The man surveyed her with a predatory gaze, an insidious thought suddenly surfacing in his mind. He realized that, despite her tattered clothes, the girl possessed an appealing figure, and beneath the layers of modesty, There lay the potential for beauty with just a touch of care. All right, but I have one condition, he leered, his eyes roving over her. The girl felt a wave of discomfort wash over her, a deep-seated fear rising within her. What condition? She asked, stifling her dread. Hoping his demands wouldn't be too unreasonable. Quite simple, spend some time with me. As long as I'm entertained, you won't need to repay the debt. The man grinned wickedly, his expression repugnant. As soon as the words left his lips, murmurs of disapproval erupted from the crowd surrounding them, filled with condemnation and disdain. This only served to inflame the man's anger, prompting him to shout, "If you're so capable, why don't you help her pay? If anyone here offers to cover her debt, I will immediately retract my outrageous demands." In an instant, the previously boisterous atmosphere fell silent. After all, money is hard-earned. And no one was willing to part with their hard-earned cash to settle someone else's debt. What's it going to be? Either pay me 10,000 directly, or be my temporary girlfriend, the man declared triumphantly, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. Just then, the thunderous roar of an engine shattered the tranquility of the campus. Akin to a bolt of lightning striking, Gu Yechen, behind the wheel of his stunning Koenigsegg Adra, sped onto the scene, the powerful engine's growl resonating through the air, instantly capturing the attention of many. As onlookers beheld the luxurious sports car's dazzling exterior, their eyes widened in astonishment, filled with envy and admiration. Initially, Gu Yechen paid little mind to the gathered crowd. With a composed demeanor, he parked his vehicle securely in his designated spot, a privilege granted by the university due to his exceptional status. Upon alighting from the car, Gu Yechen noted that the throng remained tightly clustered, sparking his curiosity. After all, it is human nature to be intrigued by gossip, and he wished to uncover the cause of such a commotion. With measured strides, Gu Yechen approached the crowd, causing them to momentarily halt in surprise upon recognizing him. The young man who had successfully wooed the campus belle, Xia Yutong, had become quite a legend within the school, with many male students familiar with his exploits. The girls were taken aback upon the appearance of Gu Yechen, unexpectedly encountering the renowned first-year student, often hailed as the most handsome figure at Tsinghua and Peking University during such a pivotal moment. Upon seeing Gu Yechen, the crowd felt an invisible pressure and instinctively parted to create a pathway. After all, Gu Yechen's identity and background were shrouded in mystery within the school, evoking a sense of awe and reverence. Many had even heard tales or witnessed firsthand his remarkable prowess in the cafeteria, fully aware of his extraordinary nature. Gu Yechen inquired about the situation at hand, his brow slightly furrowed as his piercing gaze fixated on the bespectacled man, a hint of barely perceptible coldness emanating from his eyes. Was it truly necessary to make things difficult for a girl over a mere scrape? His voice, icy and cutting, swept through the air like a chilling wind, instilling fear in those who heard it. The bespectacled man, bewildered and confused by Gu Yechen and Apos' presence, felt a wave of tension wash over him upon observing the expensive designer attire that adorned Gu Yechen and Apos' frame. Yet, unwilling to lose face in front of the onlookers, he feigned composure. "This matter has nothing to do with you, stay out of it," he declared defiantly, attempting to mask his inner turmoil with bravado. Gu Yechen let out a disdainful chuckle, laced with contempt. "I intend to intervene. I will cover the 10,000 yuan." With that, he elegantly retrieved a thick stack of cash from his wallet, tossing it nonchalantly to the bespectacled man. Startled, the man fumbled to catch the money, his expression darkening like a wilted flower. However, faced with Gu Yechen's formidable presence, he hesitated to voice any further complaints and turned to leave in his vehicle. Thinking of leaving with the money? Gu Yechen and Apos' cold voice resonated once more, imbued with an unyielding force that caused the man and Apos' body to involuntarily shudder. "What do you want?" he asked, his bravado waning as he turned back to face Gu Yechen, his tone stripped of its initial arrogance. "If I am not mistaken, your vehicle has passed through at least a dozen owners, has changed hands repeatedly, and is in mediocre condition, worth at most a few tens of thousands. I wonder if the police might consider this extortion should I report it," Gu Yechen remarked with a smile that failed to reach his eyes, his gaze sharp and penetrating as he scrutinized the man. The man, filled with rage and trepidation, realized Gu Yechen's words rang true. Yet, he could not unleash his frustration in front of the crowd, his face flushing crimson with indignation. "Rest assured, I shall not demand the money back. I merely wish to impart a piece of advice. Those who commit wrongful acts will ultimately meet their demise. There are watchful eyes above us, and one must tread carefully lest they invoke divine retribution," Gu Yechen concluded, turning his back on the man without a second glance. However, he discreetly unleashed a bolt of lightning, which struck the man, leaving his hair standing on end and his body charred, resembling a scorched creature. Though it did not take his life, it imparted a profound lesson. Goodness, he was truly struck by lightning, someone exclaimed amidst the crowd, their voice tinged with astonishment and fear. Gu Yechen, unfazed by the commotion, shifted his attention to the girl. Name, Lin Huaji. Age, 18. Appearance, 94 health. Malnourished times developed. 0 background. Sparse meals, frugal lifestyle, gentle disposition. Gu Yechen's brow furrowed slightly as he observed the frail figure before him, as if a gust of wind could topple her. Her malnourished state rendered her exceedingly delicate, her washed-out attire amplifying her fragility, yet her exquisite features still hinted at her remarkable beauty. In that moment, Huaji gazed at Gu Yechen with profound gratitude, tears glistening in her eyes, mingling with a hint of fear and confusion, unsure why this dashing, affluent young man had chosen to assist her and how long it would take her to repay him. "Thank you. I will repay you as soon as possible," she stammered, her voice trembling like a tender sprout emerging from the earth, filled with vulnerability and unease. Gu Yechen smiled gently, akin to a warm spring breeze, instilling a sense of comfort. "My surname is Gu Yechen. What is your name?" he inquired, aiming to foster a more natural exchange between them. I am Lin Huaji," she replied, her gaze dropping to the ground as her mind swirled with myriad thoughts and concerns. "Do not worry about the money. Focus on your studies first. That is the path to achieving your aspirations," Gu Yechen encouraged, waving his hand lightly, his eyes brimming with support and concern. Helping others was a deep-seated pursuit for him, especially when faced with a girl of such striking beauty and apparent vulnerability. He could not stand idly by. With that, Gu Yechen turned to leave, leaving Huaji gazing after his tall, carefree silhouette for an extended moment. "Thank you, Gu. I will repay you," she whispered resolutely, clenching her fist in determination. Though they were strangers, Gu Yechen had extended a tremendous act of kindness during her time of need. It seemed she would have to find an opportunity to invite him for a meal once she repaid him, as she could hardly afford anything more. The girl made her way towards the classroom building, her steps light, yet filled with hope for the future and gratitude towards Gu Yechen. As the crowd dispersed, having witnessed the resolution of the incident, they were eager to leave, having lost interest in the spectacle. "What happened here?" A teacher hurried onto the scene, confusion evident on their face as they surveyed the chaos. "That guy was just struck by lightning," someone remarked, reveling in the misfortune. Chapter 329, The Final Modifications of the Mech. The teacher, not daring to delay for a moment, swiftly pulled out his phone to call for an ambulance while rapidly contacting the school nurse and relevant personnel. Shortly after Hua Ji had departed, the ambulance arrived with a blaring siren. The bespectacled man was now charred all over, looking utterly tragic, particularly in the crucial area of his trousers, which had been rendered completely useless. This horrifying sight elicited headshakes and sighs of sympathy from onlookers. In stark contrast, Gu Yechen appeared unfazed, nonchalantly making his way to the cafeteria. At that moment, the completion of the mech had reached an impressive 90%. He needed to expedite the manufacturing process. However, before that, he deemed it essential to indulge in a hearty meal, as, in his view, nothing could rival the joy of good food, aside from his beloved woman. With a light-hearted stride, Gu Yechen entered a familiar restaurant within the school cafeteria, where he found Xia Yutong quietly seated, waiting for him. Before her lay a steaming pot of fragrant seafood congee. "I'm late," Gu Yechen murmured, gently embracing Xia Yutong from behind. The sudden gesture caused her to shudder slightly, but soon a faint smile graced her face as her delicate hand tenderly rested atop his. "Please, sit down. I ordered congee for you." Xia Yutong beamed, serving him a generous bowl of the dish, her gaze fixed on him with a look of infatuation, brimming with boundless affection. Gu Yechen lifted the bowl and took a sip of congee, observing Xia Yutong's love-struck expression with a sense of helplessness. He privately lamented that sometimes possessing such charm could be a double-edged sword. "Open your mouth," he instructed, scooping a spoonful of congee, blowing gently on it before offering it to her luscious lips. His eyes filled with tenderness. Xia Yutong, momentarily taken aback, parted her lips slightly to sip the congee, her cheeks flushing crimson as she shyly avoided his gaze. Resembling a blooming peach blossom, exquisite and captivating. "You know how to be shy, don't you? Just now, you dared to stare at me like that," Gu Yechen teased, his lips curling into a smile, his eyes radiating warmth and affection. "Is it not normal to admire my man?" Xia Yutong replied with a laugh, only to pause as if surprised by her own boldness in speaking so openly. "Yechen?" Just as they were enjoying their congee, a deep yet authoritative voice suddenly resonated. Gu Yechen turned to see Lin Hua entering the cafeteria with several individuals, ready to dine. Out of politeness, Gu Yechen quickly stood and greeted, "Good day, professors." A gentle smile adorned his face, warm as a spring breeze, making those around him feel at ease. "What a surprise to find you here." Lin Hua adjusted his glasses, displaying a kind smile, his gaze imbued with familiarity and warmth. "I just arrived not long ago, Elder Lin. I wonder how your progress has been?" Gu Yechen inquired with a smile, his eyes reflecting genuine concern for their research advancements. "Thanks to the materials you provided, our progress has been smooth. We've successfully created the first set, which is quite similar to the one you made previously." Lin Hua responded enthusiastically, pride and excitement gleaming in his eyes. "Indeed. But I wonder when we can deploy these in combat. If we could utilize such innovations, the national strength of Huagua would undoubtedly increase dramatically, Gu Yechen mused. His gaze deep as he envisioned a powerful future for his country, especially as he began his journey into spiritual cultivation. If all young individuals were like you, the revitalization of Huagua would be in sight. Another professor remarked, admiration and hope evident in his eyes as he looked at Gu Yechen. I'm merely doing what I can, Gu Yechen humbly replied, his demeanor calm and composed, for he believed there was nothing praiseworthy in contributing to his country. And who might this be? Lin Hua shifted his attention to Xia Yutong, curiosity etched on his face. He sensed a distinctive aura about her, suggesting she must have commendable achievements, yet he wondered about her capabilities in research. This is my girlfriend, Xia Yutong, Gu Yechen introduced her with a smile, his tone filled with love and pride. Quite impressive. You have a good eye, young man, another professor chimed in, his eyes brimming with blessings for the young couple. I have a proposition. I wonder if it piques your interest? Gu Yechen set down his bowl of kanji, gazing at the esteemed scholars before him with deep respect. Do share. Lin Hua responded with a smile, his expression one of eagerness and encouragement. I am researching a mech that has turned out exceptionally well. I should be able to complete its construction today, Gu Yechen stated gently, his eyes gleaming with confidence. Really? Lin Hua exclaimed, his voice rising with excitement, disbelief, and joy evident in his eyes. Of course, it's true, Gu Yechen confidently stood up, adding, let us go. He tenderly patted Xia Yutong's head, his gesture filled with affection. Yechen, could you take us to see it? Lin Hua asked eagerly, his eyes brimming with anticipation. Certainly, let us go. Gu Yechen replied without hesitation, stepping forward while firmly holding Xia Yutong's hand, a smile gracing his lips as he felt elated. Xia Yutong, her cheeks flushed, followed silently in step with Gu Yechen. As they walked, onlookers couldn't help but envy the scene. The handsome, talented man and the beautiful, graceful woman, a perfect match that made others green with jealousy. Upon reaching the laboratory, Gu Yechen opened the final door, revealing a mech towering over 2 meters tall. An astonishing sight that left Xia Yutong speechless, struggling to comprehend the futuristic marvel before her. The professors, captivated by the mech and amp, Oppo's unparalleled design and advanced aesthetics, found it impossible to divert their gazes. Remarkable, truly remarkable, Lin Hua exclaimed, his eyes misty with emotion, his voice trembling. He understood that such a mech was bound to surpass anything from the Eagle country, marking a significant enhancement for Huagua and Oppo's defense capabilities. Yechen, what are the performance specifications of this mech? Lin Hua inquired eagerly, eager to learn more detailed information. The completion rate has surpassed 90%. As for its capabilities, I estimate it should be able to fly. Gu Yechen chuckled lightly, pride evident in his introduction. Excellent, excellent. Yechen, when do you plan to report this achievement? Lin Hua asked, his brow furrowed with curiosity, knowing that such significant research findings must eventually be reported to higher authorities. I'll wait until it's fully completed. There are still some issues to resolve, so there's no rush, Gu Yechen replied, casting a serious glance at the mech before him. The professors nodded in agreement, fully aware that research demands meticulousness and patience, leaving no room for carelessness. After escorting Xia Yutong out of the laboratory, Gu Yechen began the final modifications. The professors did not impede him, recognizing that this was his creation, and they could only hope for unexpected capabilities from it. Around 4:30, Gu Yechen finally completed all his tasks. As he emerged slowly from the mech, he exhaled deeply, revealing a mix of fatigue and satisfaction on his face. The professors, who had been anxiously waiting nearby, gazed at him with eager anticipation. Finished, Gu Yechen exclaimed, taking a swig from a bottle of water, a smile gracing his lips. His voice carried a subtle undertone of excitement and pride. Upon hearing this, the others eagerly approached the mech, scrutinizing it from top to bottom. However, they found no significant changes and thus inquired with confusion, Yechen, it seems there's not much alteration. Gu Yechen smiled slightly, a mysterious gleam flickering in his eyes as he replied, Dragon God number 1. The professors exchanged puzzled glances, unsure of what Gu Yechen meant. Yet, in the next instant, a mechanical voice resonated, I am here. The mech behind him suddenly spoke, its voice powerful and infused with a sense of technology. At that moment, the 3 elderly gentlemen nearly had their hearts stop in shock. What is this? Lin Hua gulped, his eyes wide with disbelief. The mech before them could articulate words like a human, utterly surpassing their comprehension and imagination. This is merely a small prototype. The current mech stands at just over 2 meters tall, accommodating only 1 occupant. However, future models will undoubtedly be superior. Gu Yechen gazed at the mech with affection and anticipation, thoroughly pleased with his creation. What capabilities does this mech possess? Lin Hua asked, his voice trembling with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Speed, jumping ability, and pressure resistance have all been significantly enhanced. It can transform its weapons and emit lasers to attack enemies. Most importantly, it can fly, Gu Yechen elaborated, each feature he described seeming to showcase a rare treasure. Yet, to the professor's ears, this information struck like a thunderclap, leaving them utterly astounded and unable to believe what they had just heard. What powers this mech? One professor finally broke free from his astonishment, posing a crucial question. He understood that sustaining such formidable capabilities would require an immense energy source. Energy crystals. Gu Yechen replied nonchalantly, a faint smile gracing his lips. The shell of the energy crystal was procured from the system, costing a staggering trillion. Such an expense was no trifling matter, but for the sake of crafting the perfect mech, it was all worth it. What exactly is an energy crystal? Lin Hua inquired, furrowing his brow. Despite his extensive experience in research, he had never encountered such a term, leaving him filled with curiosity. An energy crystal is a crystalline source of power. I convert nuclear energy into usable energy, infusing that massive power into the crystal to maximize its potential, Gu Yechen explained. His mood buoyant as he described the mech before them. What? Upon hearing Gu Yechen's words, the three professors were left utterly speechless. The notion of converting nuclear energy into usable power was an astonishing feat given the current technological landscape. You just claimed to convert nuclear energy into usable energy? Where does your nuclear energy come from? Lin Hua asked, his face a mask of shock. His gaze fixed on Gu Yechen as if afraid to miss any of his expressions or words. Elder, why are you so agitated? Take care of your health. Gu Yechen remarked with mild exasperation, genuinely worried that the excitement of the elderly gentleman might jeopardize their well-being. Forget about that. Tell me how you convert nuclear energy into usable power, and where does this nuclear energy originate? Lin Hua demanded, his expression serious. The furrows on his forehead deepening with concern. Nuclear energy is a state secret, typically inaccessible to the public. I created a particle converter. So converting nuclear energy is hardly a challenge for me. Gu Yechen shrugged, his demeanor relaxed, for he perceived such feats as effortless. With a sudden thud, Lin Hua and Appo's notebook slipped from his grasp, nearly causing him to stumble. Had he not braced himself against the table, he might have ended up on the floor in a most undignified manner. Yechen, this matter must remain confidential. What do you propose we do? Lin Hua asked, his expression grave. He recognized Gu Yechen's extraordinary talent and indifference toward many matters, yet he could not stand idly by. If the research were to leak, and rival powers obtained it, it would spell catastrophic consequences for their nation. Only the four of us are aware of this matter. If you deem confidentiality essential, then let us report it directly. After all, I am merely experimenting in my spare time, Gu Yechen replied with a nonchalant attitude, showing no signs of discontent regarding the potential report. As a citizen of their nation, he felt it his duty to contribute to the advancement of technology. Very well. I shall report this matter as it is, Lin Hua stated solemnly before swiftly departing. Upon reaching his office, he immediately picked up the red phone, his fingers trembling slightly with anxiety. Having relocated to the Qingbei laboratory, the red phone had accompanied him for emergencies. Hello, please connect me to Vice Premier Ma Xian, Lin Hua said, his face devoid of any hint of a smile, his demeanor unusually serious, fully aware of the gravity and urgency of the situation. Ma Xian, the Vice Premier of Huagua, oversaw all scientific research and was the head of this domain. Chapter 330, Zhang Yun's capture. Hello? Ma Xian was engrossed in reviewing documents in his office when the sharp ring of the telephone startled him. He gently set down the file in his hand, maintaining a composed demeanor. Mr. Ma, it's me, Lin Hua. Lin Hua's voice echoed from the other end, laced with a hint of anxiety and tremor. He was acutely aware that the information he was about to convey was utterly astonishing, and he feared that Ma Xian would find it hard to believe. Comrade Lin Hua, please proceed. What issue requires my attention? Ma Xian laid aside the materials, his face still adorned with a gentle smile, his tone as refined as ever, exuding a sense of warmth akin to a spring breeze. Mr. Ma, you must be familiar with Gu Yechen? Lin Hua inquired, his urgency barely concealed. Indeed, the achievements of Gu Xiao are quite remarkable. Ma Xian responded with a smile, his eyes briefly reflecting admiration and recognition for Gu Yechen and Appo's extraordinary talent, leaving a profound impression on him. I am currently at Qingbei, where Gu Yechen has developed exoskeleton equipment, and now he has also created mechas. Lin Hua endeavored to keep his voice steady, yet the slight quiver at the end revealed his inner excitement and shock. Are you saying that the exoskeleton has been developed by Gu Yechen? Ma Xian exclaimed in disbelief, nearly dropping his pen, his smile instantly replaced by profound astonishment. Indeed, and the performance of the newly developed mecha exceeds my imagination. Lin Hua took a deep breath, attempting to calm his racing heart, and continued. It possesses not only formidable defensive and offensive capabilities, but can also fly. The energy source is a previously unseen energy crystal, and Gu Yechen claims he can convert nuclear energy into energy injected into the crystal. Ma Xian fell silent for a moment, clearly shaken by this revelation. The office felt as though time had come to a standstill. The notion of converting nuclear energy was unprecedented. The only sound was the weighty rhythm of his breathing. Comrade Linhua, are you certain this is not a jest? Mr. Ma, I assure you, it is absolutely true. The mecha's capabilities are beyond conventional norms. Heralding the dawn of an entirely new technological era, Linhua asserted eagerly, his voice brimming with conviction and certainty. All right, stay there. I will arrange for someone to verify this immediately. Ma Xian concluded decisively, hanging up the phone. Linhua set down the receiver, his heart still tumultuous. He slowly approached the window, gazing out at the scenery with a whirlwind of thoughts. He understood that this discovery would instigate monumental changes in the technological landscape of Huagua, potentially altering the entire world order. Meanwhile, personnel dispatched by the Liu family were covertly surveilling Zhang Yun. Initially, the Liu family had sent a single 7th-tier warrior to execute the task, but to ensure absolute success, they had decided to replace him with 2 peak 8th-tier warriors. After a long day of work in the office, Zhang Yun rubbed her aching forehead and stood up, preparing to leave. As usual, Gao Shi maintained a discreet distance behind her, ensuring her safety. Zhang Yun started her car, intending to head to Mingyue Villa, where Gu Yechen's house had been delivered. She planned to move in and no longer stay at the hotel. Just as she opened the door and entered the vehicle, Gao Shi sensed a sudden surge of danger, a sharp instinct honed from years teetering on the brink of life and death. Almost instantaneously, before Gao Shi could react, Zhang Yun was struck unconscious. The warriors sent by the Liu family acted swiftly, pressing the accelerator as the vehicle sped away. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Gao Shi swiftly jumped into his own car, pursuing relentlessly. Miss Zhang Yun has been captured by 2 warriors of comparable strength to mine, perhaps even surpassing the 8th tier. Notify Brother Qin for assistance. Gao Shi frantically relayed over the phone to Gao Xian, his voice tinged with urgency and fury. Upon receiving Gao Shi and Appo's call, Gao Xian's expression shifted dramatically, and he dashed to the parking lot like an arrow released from a bow, simultaneously calling Qin Lang while driving after them. Hello, Mr. Gu is in trouble. Gao Shi remained focused on the road, his gaze fixed on the vehicle ahead as he dialed Gu Yechen, determined not to lose sight of the fleeing car. What happened? Gu Yechen was still engaged in a discussion with the remaining 2 professors about research technology and the nuclear energy converter, his demeanor serious and focused. Miss Zhang Yun has just been captured. The opposition likely consists of 2 8th-tier warriors. I couldn't react in time, and by the moment I did, she was already unconscious. I'm closely following their vehicle, and I've had Gao Xian notify Brother Qin. Gao Shi's voice was fraught with anxiety, beads of sweat rolling down his forehead. Knowing that Zhang Yun had been endangered under his protection, upon receiving Gao Shi's call, Gu Yechen's countenance darkened ominously, akin to a stormy sky before a tempest. An uncontrollable anger surged through him, and the surrounding air felt heavy, charged with his fury. Comrade Gu, what transpired? What is the situation? The 2 professors observed Gu Yechen's sudden transformation, their faces filled with concern and confusion. Someone has abducted my woman. I must go rescue her. So our discussion must be postponed. With that, Gu Yechen sprinted towards the mecha, his eyes ablaze with wrath. System, can you ascertain who orchestrated Zhang Yun's abduction? Gu Yechen queried internally as he ran, his teeth clenched in determination to uncover the mastermind behind this treachery, resolved to ensure they faced dire consequences. Deducting 1 trillion. The system has identified the Kyoto Liu family as the perpetrators behind the incident. The Kyoto Liu family, it seems I have been too merciful. Your actions have sealed your own fate. Gu Yechen entered the mecha, activated its launch sequence, and in an instant, it soared into the sky like a bolt of lightning. Racing towards Zhang Yun's location. Yechen, I have already notified Vice Premier Ma. He will dispatch personnel to investigate. Linhua entered the laboratory with a smile, but his expression shifted to astonishment upon noticing the empty space. Where are Gu Yechen and the mecha? Linhua asked, brows furrowed in confusion as he scanned the vicinity, searching for any trace of Gu Yechen and the mecha. Someone has captured Gu Yechen and Appo's woman. Moments ago, he took off in the mecha, another professor remarked, his voice filled with shock and concern, having witnessed the mecha's departure firsthand. Chapter 331. The first appearance of Mecha Lin Hua's complexion instantly darkened, as if shrouded by a heavy, ominous cloud. He was acutely aware that Gu Yechen was a national treasure. A person capable of creating such an astonishing flying mecha could hardly be an ordinary individual. Naturally, his woman was also of utmost importance. The realization that he had neglected this matter filled him with profound regret. Hello, Premier Ma. There's been an incident. Linhua promptly dialed Ma Xian, his voice tinged with urgency and panic. What has happened? Ma Xian's tone remained calm, exuding a sense of steadiness. Just now, Gu Yechen's woman was kidnapped. Linhua explained the situation hastily, his voice rife with anxiety and fury, as though the words were being forced through clenched teeth. I understand. Ma Xian's voice was still composed, but once he hung up, an icy murderous intent radiated from him, his deep-set eyes flickering with wrath. He had not anticipated that anyone would dare to treat a national hero in such a manner. Connect me to the military district commander. Ma Xian promptly notified the relevant authorities, unhesitatingly treating the situation as a wartime emergency, his resolute demeanor leaving no room for doubt. Afterward, he immediately contacted the highest leadership of Huagua, informing Long Zhu of the situation. Upon learning of the incident, Long Zhu was instantly enraged. Gu Yechen was an invaluable asset to the nation, and he swiftly acquiesced to Ma Xian's request, granting him full authority to handle the matter. In less than a minute, Gu Yechen piloted the mecha, appearing above the vehicle where Zhang Yun was located, following the coordinates provided by Gao Shi. The mecha hovered steadily in the air, resembling an unassailable fortress of steel. Gu Yechen and Appo's gaze was fixed on the scene below, his eyes ablaze with fury, as if he intended to incinerate everything in his path. The flames of his wrath completely uncontainable. What is that? A bystander exclaimed in astonishment upon spotting Gu Yechen and the mecha in the sky, their voice brimming with curiosity and disbelief. It looks like a person? Are you blind? It's clearly a person. People began to gather, gazing upward at the unprecedented spectacle, their discussions swelling like a tide. Wait, it looks like a robot. Suddenly, someone interjected, uncertainty and confusion evident in their tone. As these words were spoken, a crowd of people lifted their heads, their eyes wide with anticipation, eager to catch every detail, fearing they might miss something crucial. Well, a flying robot? Is this reality or just a television show? It can't be. Someone exclaimed, their voice sharp with shock. The two 8th level warriors who had kidnapped Zhang Yun were equally taken aback, for Gu Yechen now hovered before them, obstructing their escape. They could not afford to dismiss this unprecedented phenomenon, a sense of unease creeping into their hearts, for they were helpless to levitate in the air, a fact that made them increasingly anxious. Through the mecha's communication system, Gu Yechen called down to the vehicle, stop immediately, or face the consequences. His voice thundered, resonating in the air with an imposing authority. However, the vehicle showed no signs of slowing down. Instead, it accelerated, attempting to break through Gu Yechen's blockade. Gu Yechen snorted coldly, maneuvering the mecha close to the car with agility and precision. He extended the mechanical arm and seized the car's roof, his immense strength lifting the vehicle effortlessly. The two 8th level warriors inside the car exchanged glances, their expressions shifting to one of alarm. They had not anticipated that the object before them possessed such power, effortlessly lifting their speeding vehicle far beyond their comprehension and imagination. At that moment, an elite special forces unit from the military district arrived on the scene, traveling in a helicopter, armed and ready for combat. Captain, this, one soldier exclaimed, staring in shock at Gu Yechen's display, his mouth agape and eyes wide. They could easily estimate the weight of the car but could scarcely believe that Gu Yechen could halt it so effortlessly. What he wields is undoubtedly no ordinary equipment. It resembles an exceedingly advanced mechanical armor. The special forces captain's expression grew grave as he focused intently on Gu Yechen and his mecha, pondering the origins of this enigmatic gear. If it could be utilized on the battlefield, it would surely be a game-changing asset. Release us. You dare oppose the Liu family? You want to end well. One of the warriors shouted, his voice loud, yet betraying an undercurrent of tension, as the vehicle was forced to a halt. The two 8th level warriors emerged, their faces contorted with anger. They glared at Gu Yechen, their expressions as dark as storm clouds, unwilling to relinquish Zhang Yun after having captured her with such difficulty. Kid, I suggest you step aside. Otherwise, you might find yourself without a grave. One of the 8th level warriors stepped forward, his eyes brimming with murderous intent. Though apprehensive, their fierce glares seemed intent on devouring Gu Yechen, emboldened by their numerical advantage. The two warriors regarded Gu Yechen, their voices laced with fury, their tones devoid of warmth, as if carried by a chilling wind from the depths of the abyss. In their eyes, Gu Yechen had already been marked for death, as they were confident in their ability to overpower him. In a sudden burst of speed, Gu Yechen propelled himself forward, forcing the two 8th level warriors back. Ignoring their threats entirely, he opened the car door and retrieved the unconscious Zhang Yun. Ah-chun. Just as Gu Yechen pulled her out, Zhang Yun began to stir from her unconscious state. Though her vision remained hazy, she sensed that the individual before her was none other than the Gu Yechen she had longed for. Gu Yechen exited the mecha, his heart aching at the sight of Zhang Yun's pale complexion. He had taken every precaution, assigning two peak-level warriors, Gao Shi and Gao Xian, to protect her. Yet never did he anticipate the appearance of 8th level peak warriors, filling him with guilt and fury. Gu Yechen turned to face the two warriors, his expression darkening like the sky before a storm, an overwhelming aura of murderous intent emanating from him, impossible to conceal. The Liu family certainly knows how to play their cards, dispatching two 8th level warriors to deal with a defenseless woman. Gu Yechen scoffed, the temperature around him seeming to drop in response to his ire. Gu Yechen? The two 8th level warriors were equally astonished to see him emerge from the mecha, believing they would have to expend considerable effort to confront him, only to find him presenting himself so readily. Chapter 332. The instant annihilation of two 8th Order warriors. Gu Yechen initially intended to use her to lure you out, but to his astonishment, you came out seeking your own demise. What a fortunate turn of events, a man remarked, a grotesque smile adorning his face. Two peak 8th Order warriors stood confidently side by side, their gaze fixed on Gu Yechen, convinced that a 2-on-1 battle against an equally ranked opponent would culminate in her tragic defeat. Enough of this idle chatter. Since he has shown himself, let us dispose of him directly, said the other, his demeanor cold as ice. His eyes piercing Gu Yechen with a gaze that suggested he was merely observing a dying creature, devoid of any compassion. Prepare to meet your end. The two 8th Order warriors bellowed in unison, their voices resonating like thunder, shaking the very air around them. They surged forth like lightning, their speed and strength so formidable that the moment their feet met the ground, the solid surface shattered, splintering into a web of cracks. The two advanced towards Gu Yechen in a crisscross formation, their well-rehearsed synergy flawless. With this maneuver, past opponents had been rendered utterly defenseless, and they had never once faltered. In the face of this overwhelming assault, Gu Yechen remained remarkably composed, betraying no hint of panic. The special forces dispatched by the military observed the unfolding scene, eager to witness Gu Yechen's true prowess, for the event that warranted their intervention was undoubtedly extraordinary. As two fierce attacks closed in like a tempest, Gu Yechen nonchalantly stomped her foot, and in an instant, a surge of thunderous power erupted, accompanied by a deafening roar akin to a raging dragon emerging from the sea, crashing toward the two 8th Order warriors. Taken aback by this sudden turn of events, they swiftly executed evasive maneuvers. With her sword technique firmly grasped, a wave of formidable spiritual energy surged forth, and the once chaotic lightning seemed to be guided by an unseen force, charging towards the duo with renewed ferocity. They dared not relax for a moment, channeling all their energy to mount a defense. Yet, it appeared to be a futile effort. The lightning, with a might that could shatter the very earth, effortlessly breached their defenses, piercing one warrior's chest, leaving a ghastly wound from which blood gushed forth like a fountain. To an onlooker, it would seem as if he had already crossed into the afterlife. Impossible. One warrior stared in disbelief at his own chest, engulfed in utter shock. His eyes widened, filled with terror and confusion. He could not fathom how Gu Yechen had so effortlessly defeated him with a single strike. Nor could he comprehend how she summoned such formidable lightning at will. As fellow warriors, why was he utterly powerless against this mysterious and potent force while Gu Yechen wielded it with such ease? Consumed by this overwhelming sense of helplessness, the warrior's body gradually slumped backward, crashing heavily to the ground, emitting a dull thud. The flame of his life extinguished in an instant, leaving him breathless, his eyes still wide open in defiance, as if questioning the heavens for their injustice. This sequence of events unfolded with the swiftness of a lightning bolt, leaving the onlookers in stunned silence, too frightened to approach even a step closer. The oppressive aura of lightning that permeated the scene rendered the air nearly suffocating, as if an invisible hand was tightly gripping their throats, making it nearly unbearable. Why, you are human or a specter? The remaining warrior stood in shock, his lips trembling, his voice betraying his uncontainable fear. He had witnessed his companion being slain before his very eyes by a single bolt of lightning, and he found himself utterly defenseless. Terror spreading like wildfire through his being, consuming him entirely. The members of the special forces were left agape at Gu Yechen and Apos, as astonishing display, their jaws nearly hitting the ground. The ability to harness the power of thunder, such a divine skill, rendered her anything but ordinary. Could she truly be a celestial being descended from the legends? They stood stupefied, their minds blank. Gu Yechen regarded him with an impassive expression, devoid of any compassion or mercy. Humph. Those who dare to harm my woman should have anticipated such a tragic fate. The warrior trembled uncontrollably, his legs quaking as if made of straw, nearly collapsing under his weight. Please spare me. I was merely following the orders of the Liu family. I was just executing my duty. His voice quivered with desperation, pleading for a sliver of mercy. Once you chose to capture me, you sealed your fate as a dead man. Before he could finish speaking, Gu Yechen vanished in a flash, appearing before the warrior like a specter, delivering a heavy punch imbued with inexhaustible power, accompanied by a blinding flash of lightning that pierced through the warrior and Apos' body. Without hesitation, she kicked him violently, sending him flying several meters away. The warrior's body traced an arc in the air before crashing to the ground, breathless and lifeless, his form crackling with residual lightning. A horrific sight that was hard to behold. At this moment, the captain of the special forces stepped forward, rendering a formal and respectful military salute. Mr. Gu, I have been sent by the higher-ups. Your skills are extraordinary, deserving of admiration. His eyes brimmed with respect and reverence. Gu Yechen nodded slightly, his expression calm as he replied, "Thank you. Please attend to the scene." With that, he turned and boarded the mech, cradling Zhang Yun, vanishing from sight amidst a cacophony of sound. I still wanted to inquire about his mech. The captain chuckled wryly. shaking his head as he promptly instructed his team to manage the chaotic aftermath. They had arrived in such a short span of time precisely because they were nearby. Gu Yechen returned directly to the laboratory, where Lin Hua and the other 3 professors stood in utter shock, for he had been gone for less than 5 minutes. Little friend Yechen, what just transpired? The 3 professors stared at him in disbelief, having just learned that Gu Yechen's woman had been abducted by 2 8th-order warriors. Yet, he had managed to rescue her in a mere 5 minutes and vanquished 2 powerful foes. The speed and strength he displayed were beyond comprehension. Chapter 333. 3 hours of battle. What happened? Upon emerging from the mech, Gu Yechen cast a puzzled glance at the 3 professors. To him, the ordeal he had just undergone felt trivial, an utterly commonplace affair. Are you all right? Lin Hua asked with deep concern, his eyes brimming with worry. I am fine. Those 2 fellows are not worthy of my attention, Gu Yechen replied nonchalantly, his voice laced with confidence. In this vast world, there are but a handful of opponents capable of truly challenging him. Unless a warrior of the 10th tier appeared, perhaps he would have to stretch his skills. Otherwise, these ordinary characters were hardly worth mentioning in his presence. Lin Hua and the professors exchanged glances, their expressions revealing a mix of astonishment and admiration for Gu Yechen's formidable strength. Yechen, thankfully, you reacted promptly this time. Otherwise, I dread to think of the horrors that might have ensued, Lin Hua remarked, a hint of fear still lingering in his tone. Old Lin. Protecting those I care about is an obligation I must fulfill, Gu Yechen responded firmly. He understood without needing to be told that if a man cannot protect his woman, he is hardly a man at all. At this moment, Zhang Yun finally regained her composure, her bright eyes gazing at Gu Yechen, filled with reliance and reassurance. Yechen, Zhang Yun hesitated, her lips trembling slightly, as if searching for the right words. Shoo, don't speak. Just rest well, Gu Yechen said gently, his tone as soft as a spring breeze, soothing her heart and warming her soul. Just then, Gu Yechen's phone rang unexpectedly. Hello? Mr. Gu, it's me, Gao Xian. I heard that you have rescued Miss Zhang Yun. That is truly wonderful. Gao Xian's voice came through the phone, tinged with a trace of apprehension. Although this mission was under Gao Shi's responsibility, he knew he could not absolve himself of blame, yet he was not one to shy away from challenges. Yes, everything is fine here. You all have worked hard, Gu Yechen replied, ending the call and turning to Lin Hua and the others. Old Lin, regarding the mech, the subsequent tasks may fall into your hands. The performance of this mech is beyond imagination. It can be manufactured for military use and will undoubtedly enhance our nation's military prowess significantly. Gu Yechen's expression turned serious, for he had personally operated this mech and was well acquainted with its capabilities. Moreover, he planned to construct another large mech and would not engage with such matters again. No problem, Yechen. As long as it benefits the country, we will exert our utmost efforts, Lin Hua declared solemnly, his eyes filled with determination. Gu Yechen nodded and handed over the blueprints for the mech's construction, while his mind began to contemplate future plans. Since the Liu family dared to harm his woman, they must be prepared for annihilation. Gu Yechen carefully escorted Zhang Yun to Mingyue Villa, where all the paperwork was complete. Henceforth, this would be their cozy home. Were you frightened? Gu Yechen observed Zhang Yun, his eyes filled with tenderness. He had brought her here, but nearly caused her to fall victim to a kidnapping, which filled him with guilt. I knew you would come to save me. Zhang Yun nestled her head against Gu Yechen and Apos' chest, desperately inhaling the reassuring scent that emanated from him, which she considered the most precious aroma in the world. This time, it was my fault that you found yourself in such a dangerous predicament. Gu Yechen's countenance remained serious, his anger simmering like a volcano poised to erupt. This is not your fault. The adversaries were simply too formidable. Even Gao Shi failed to react in time. Zhang Yun gently caressed Gu Yechen and Apos' face, attempting to soothe his inner turmoil and guilt. Rest assured, I will arrange for someone to protect you. Such incidents will not be allowed to recur, Gu Yechen promised earnestly. For him, enlisting the help of the nation's experts was not a daunting task, as his worth was immeasurable. Furthermore, given his current status and resources, he had no trouble finding reliable individuals to safeguard Zhang Yun. Indeed, Zhang Yun nodded, her face radiant with trust and happiness. Suddenly, she leaned in and kissed Gu Yechen softly. The tender sensation took him by surprise, igniting a flame deep within him. A spark ignited in Gu Yechen's eyes as he swept her up into his arms and strode purposefully toward the bathroom. After refreshing themselves, an intense and passionate encounter ensued. 3 hours later, Zhang Yun, flushed and exhausted, leaned against Gu Yechen, utterly drained of energy. Gu Yechen gently patted her head, smiling. Let and Apos, see if you dare to tease me again. His tone was infinitely tender, a stark contrast to the cold ruthlessness he had displayed while vanquishing 2 8th-tier warriors. You are becoming increasingly formidable. I can barely keep up. Zhang Yun playfully chided, her hand still caressing Gu Yechen's well-defined abs, a satisfied smile gracing her lips. By the way, Did you arrange for someone to protect Xiao Tong? Zhang Yun suddenly inquired, a flicker of concern crossing her eyes. At her question, Gu Yechen's expression darkened, and he hastily grabbed his phone, dialing Xia Yutong and Appo's number. Hello, Achun. Xia Yutong, who had been quietly reading, felt her eyes widen with excitement upon seeing Gu Yechen's call. Xiao Tong, are you all right? Gu Yechen asked anxiously. Xia Yutong appeared bewildered. She was perfectly fine. Why would Gu Yechen ask such a question? She replied curiously, I'm fine. What's wrong? Nothing. What are you up to? Gu Yechen's tone lightened, his voice melodious and captivating. I'm reading. Hearing Gu Yechen and Appo's words, Xia Yutong and Appo's lips curled into a smile. His voice was music to her ears, an enchanting melody she could never tire of. By the way, is Sister Yun okay? Xia Yutong, aware of Zhang Yun's ambush, also knew that Gu Yechen had decisively dealt with 2 8th-tier warriors, and she felt a surge of joy at his fierce protectiveness over the woman he loved. She is fine, just a bit shaken, but she has recovered now. Gu Yechen had not anticipated that Xia Yutong would already be informed of the incident. Rest assured, I will be safe at school, Xia Yutong reassured him, sensing his concern. All right, Xiao Tong, you can trust that I will ensure your safety. Gu Yechen replied with a warm smile. Okay, I will hang up now. I'm still reading, Xia Yutong said sweetly, her voice brimming with youthful vigor. This girl, I can't believe reading is more important than me. Gu Yechen mused, though a smile lingered on his lips. After ending the call, Gu Yechen gently embraced Zhang Yun, and they savored the tranquility and warmth of the moment. Outside the window, the bright moon hung high, casting silvery light and draping this tender scene in a dreamlike veil. Meanwhile, on another front, Chapter 334, The Pinnacle of Qi Refinement? I merely have a cheat. After observing that Zhang Yun had fallen into a deep slumber, Gu Yechen gently placed a kiss upon her forehead and quietly exited the room. He ascended to a chamber on the top floor, prepared to commence his cultivation. As he initiated his practice, he was pleasantly surprised to discover that the spiritual energy in the Mingwei Villa was more abundant than in his previous location, a revelation that caught him off guard. He pondered whether Yun and the others would be able to cultivate. Gazing at Zhang Yun, who was lost in sweet dreams, Gu Yechen felt a surge of anticipation. If those dear to him could embark on the path of cultivation, it would undoubtedly be a splendid occurrence. Settling into a meditative position within the serene confines of the top-floor room, he began to cultivate, channeling the Qi refinement technique. With his eyes gently closed, he focused on sensing the spiritual energy that permeated the universe. He perceived wisps of ethereal energy, akin to delicate threads, gradually entering his body. Every pore absorbed this subtle energy, which coursed through his meridians and ultimately converged at his dantian, transforming slowly into precious spiritual power. However, in this age of spiritual energy scarcity, such meager amounts were utterly insufficient to satisfy his cultivation needs. After an entire night of practice, he had barely managed to elevate his cultivation level by a minuscule fraction. This slight advancement was solely attributed to his Thunder Spirit root, which enabled him to communicate with the celestial energy at a relatively swift pace, yielding this unexpected result. Frustrated by the trivial gain, Gu Yechen sighed and opened his eyes, glancing at the system's status, only to be astonished to find that the system's store had undergone changes. System, what is the meaning of this? Yu Haven T malfunctioned. Have you? Gu Yechen mused, his brow furrowing in confusion. Due to subtle changes in the world where the host resides, the system has automatically upgraded. Starting today, the system store will refresh daily at midnight, allowing the purchase of 3 types of items, with random quality. The system's voice resonated in Gu Yechen's mind, leaving him momentarily stunned. Changes in the world? An upgrade? How could such an upgrade occur without cause? He was filled with doubt. But upon noticing that the funds provided by the system remained intact, he breathed a sigh of relief. An upgrade was acceptable as long as his money remained secure. Curiously, he examined the new status of the system store, learning that it would refresh daily and offer 3 items. An appealing alteration indeed. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that the store featured a spiritual energy pill. Could the so-called world change pertain to a shift in spiritual energy? He could distinctly sense an increase in spiritual energy compared to the previous day. System, speak plainly. Is this world beginning to transform? Gu Yechen's expression grew serious. If significant changes were indeed forthcoming, he must prepare thoroughly. Indeed, this system has sensed signs of spiritual energy recovery in this realm, indicating a gradual transition into an era of renewed spiritual energy. Furthermore, this system perceives something watching over this world. The system's voice conveyed a hint of excitement, for it recognized that this overly tranquil world desperately required change and challenge. Gu Yechen's countenance became increasingly grave. He understood all too well the implications of spiritual energy recovery. Perhaps upon awakening the next day, he would find himself being stalked by a terrifying beast hundreds of meters in size. System, could you arrange for me to meet an immortal emperor directly? Gu Yechen feigned innocence in his inquiry, seeking to gauge the system's reaction. What nonsense are you pondering? With that, the system delivered a jolt of electricity to Gu Yechen. while the shock posed no tangible harm. It astonishingly propelled his cultivation to the 11th layer of Qi refinement, an outcome entirely unforeseen by him. The Qi refinement stage comprises a total of 13 layers. And with the system's jolt, Gu Yechen found himself at the 11th layer, merely a step away from the 13th layer. This left him utterly astonished. System, how about giving me another jolt or two, just to elevate me to foundation establishment? A smile crept across Gu Yechen's face, unable to suppress his inner joy. After all, as a thunder spirit root, the system and Appos' electric shock had unexpectedly aided his cultivation. You should focus on how to contend with the potential developments ahead. The system and Appos' profound voice prompted Gu Yechen to adopt a more serious demeanor. He scrutinized the system store, noting the items available: this refresh, a spiritual energy pill, a thunder-breathing technique, and thunder spirit arts, precisely 3 rewards. Upon examining the functions of these 3 rewards, he found that the spiritual energy pill contained an exceptionally rich essence of spiritual energy, optimal for cultivators below the foundation establishment stage. The thunder-breathing technique, a unique method of breath cultivation, allowed for practice with every inhalation in areas rich in spiritual energy, rendering it the most convenient and practical method for Gu Yechen. The Thunder Spirit Arts, categorized as an intermediate yellow-level technique, represented an advanced version of the lightning arts, capable of converting spiritual power into formidable lightning attacks against multiple foes. To his astonishment, the combined price of these 3 items amounted to merely 10 trillion Huagua currency. This revelation left him bewildered, as he recalled that previously, a single Qi refinement technique had cost 10 trillion. Now, 3 such useful treasures were available for the same price. An unbelievable bargain. Was it possible that prices were decreasing? It seemed as if the system was developing a semblance of humanity. Without a moment and Appos' hesitation, Gu Yechen purchased all the items. Holding the 3 treasures in his hands, his unease deepened. If spiritual energy truly was on the verge of recovery, it was imperative to notify the government promptly, enabling them to prepare adequately. He unfurled the purple scroll before him. Was this the method for the thunder-breathing technique? Gently opening it, he directed his consciousness into the scroll. Utilizing his void eye and exceptional innate talent, Gu Yechen swiftly grasped the essence of the thunder-breathing technique. Ding! You have comprehended the thunder-breathing technique and thunder spirit arts. Immediately, Gu Yechen settled into a meditative posture and unhesitatingly ingested the spiritual energy pill. The pill dissolved upon entry, instantly transforming into an incredibly pure energy that rapidly spread throughout his body, coursing through his limbs and bones. He commenced the thunder-breathing technique, guiding the overwhelming pure energy through his body in an orderly fashion. To his astonishment, that single spiritual energy pill contained such immense power. This energy propelled his cultivation to the pinnacle of Qi refinement, just a step away from breaking into the foundation establishment stage. This outcome left him profoundly shocked, especially considering that he still retained 30% of the energy within him. System, is my rapid elevation in cultivation genuine? Gu Yechen questioned, grappling with disbelief. Reaching the pinnacle of Qi refinement in such a short span would undoubtedly leave other cultivators feeling despondent. Chapter 335, The Divine Thunder Body of the 9 Heavens. How wonderful it is to have a cheat. According to the system and Appos' assessment, the spiritual energy within your meridians has reached the conditions for foundation establishment, and there is no sign of superficiality. The system's voice resonated steadily, akin to a potent tranquilizer that calmed Gu Yechen's previously anxious heart. The system has upgraded and rewards the host with a level-up gift pack. Would you like to open it? The system's tone returned, this time tinged with a hint of arrogance, which took Gu Yechen by surprise. After all, it had been a while since the system had displayed such unique emotions. Indeed. Splendid. Gu Yechen's lips curled into a broad smile, nearly reaching his ears. This system was undeniably considerate, as if it could perceive all his needs and fulfill them without fail. With such a companion, he was confident that even in the face of a large-scale invasion by otherworldly beings, he would possess the strength and assurance to confront it with composure. System. With you here, there are no unexpected occurrences. Quickly, open the gift pack. Gu Yechen said cheerfully, his spirits soaring as he gazed with anticipation. As the system opened the gift pack, a brilliant light burst forth, illuminating the entire space. Congratulations, host, for obtaining Foundation Establishment Pill. Consuming it guarantees a 100% success rate in foundation establishment, aiding the host in cultivating with remarkable efficiency. Gu Yechen's eyes sparkled with delight, filled with joy. This was indeed a rare treasure. Moreover, with a 100% success rate, it was an invaluable aid on his path of cultivation. Congratulations, host, for acquiring a terrestrial-grade magical artifact, Thunderclap Sword. The blade of the Thunderclap Sword is as white as snow, yet it is infused with lightning that dances freely. Each strike will carry formidable electric power. Gu Yechen's heart soared, his hands instinctively clenching into fists. With such powerful magical treasures and weapons, He would be able to firmly establish his footing in this era of spiritual energy revival, possessing ample strength to face the unknown challenges and crises. Congratulations, host, for obtaining a special physique, divine thunder body of the nine heavens. Your body's sensitivity to and comprehension of lightning far surpasses that of ordinary individuals, allowing for extraordinary cultivation efficiency. You can even draw lightning into your body to temper it, enhancing your strength. In awe of the three rewards presented by the system, Gu Yechen trembled with excitement, barely able to contain himself. It was as if, when the sleepiness struck, a comfortable bed awaited him, everything arriving at the most opportune moment. System, integrate the physique. Gu Yechen eagerly exited his room, stepping into the expansive courtyard to prepare for the integration of his new physique. His gaze was resolute, filled with a fervent desire for newfound power. Integrating the divine thunder body of the nine heavens. Integration at 5%. In an instant, the once clear and sunny sky abruptly darkened. The vibrant morning sky became shrouded in heavy clouds, like a massive black curtain enveloping the world. Powerful lightning surged within the clouds, akin to furious dragons preparing to break free. Gu Yechen looked up at the tumultuous clouds, feeling a twinge of anxiety. This was his first time facing the majesty and might of thunder so closely and directly. Congratulations, host, for successfully integrating the divine thunder body of the nine heavens. The system's voice rang in his mind, and simultaneously, a faint aura of thunderous energy began to emanate from his body, forming a mysterious and powerful defensive barrier upon his skin. Seeing this, Gu Yechen wasted no time in consuming the foundation establishment pill, closing his eyes to begin his meditative cultivation. A terrifying bolt of lightning struck down towards him, yet its impact had no effect on Gu Yechen. Instead, the thunderous energy was immediately absorbed by his newly integrated divine thunder body, transforming into pure energy and continuously flowing into his dantian. As Gu Yechen fully activated his cultivation technique, the aura within him surged dramatically. The thunder above seemed to sense the provocation, growing even angrier and brewing more potent bolts of lightning. Gu Yechen and Apos' lips curled into a confident and exhilarated smile. He welcomed the onslaught of thunder, for with the divine thunder body and thunder spirit root, he feared no more lightning. These bolts not only tempered his physique, but also allowed him to absorb their energy and convert it into his own spiritual power, a delightful trifecta of benefits. After the final bolt of lightning crashed down, Gu Yechen's aura soared to the 5th layer of foundation establishment, successfully refining all the energy. He slowly opened his eyes, exhaling a breath of turbid air, feeling incredibly refreshed after the thunder's baptism, having expelled many impurities from his body, rendering it stronger and more resilient. 5th layer of foundation establishment. How splendid it is to have a cheat. Gu Yechen could hardly contain his joy. It seemed that the events to follow would undoubtedly be complex. Otherwise, the system would not bestow such precious rewards all at once. Was an otherworldly invasion imminent? He pondered the timing of this impending crisis, his brow slightly furrowed. Now that spiritual energy was beginning to revive, there would likely be more ancient cultivators emerging, though their powers remained uncertain. Gu Yechen rose and returned to his room, where he found Zhang Yun curled up, her eyes filled with anxiety as she surveyed her surroundings. A sight that evoked sympathy. Upon witnessing this, Gu Yechen swiftly approached her and enveloped her in a warm embrace. Yun and Apos, what troubles you? Gu Yechen and Apos' voice resonated with concern. The thunder was terrifying. I have never witnessed such fearsome lightning before. Zhang Yun's voice trembled, her childhood fear of thunder resurfacing as she encountered this prolonged and dreadful tempest, leaving her heart filled with dread. With Gu Yechen absent, she could only shrink helplessly. Do not fear, I am here. Gu Yechen gently stroked her back, his tender touch radiating soothing energy. Feeling the warmth of Gu Yechen and Apos' presence, Zhang Yun gradually relaxed. Gu Yechen presented her with the Qi refinement manual and smiled lightly, saying, Yuner, try to memorize the contents and see if you can cultivate based on it. Gu Yechen looked at Zhang Yun with anticipation, uncertain if she possessed the ability to cultivate, yet sincerely hoping that if she could, it would be a tremendous blessing. For within her, he sensed the shadow of spiritual roots, albeit still in a developmental stage. Zhang Yun glanced at the manual, astonished, and replied, You can't be suggesting that this is for cultivating immortals, can you? She looked at Gu Yechen in disbelief. In her understanding, how could immortals possibly exist in this world? Chapter 336. Allow Zhang Yun to attempt cultivation, give it a try, and you will understand. Gu Yechen gently flipped his hand, and a glowing orb pulsating with terrifying thunderous energy appeared in his palm. The immense power contained within seemed eager to break free from its confines, surging forth with wild abandon, causing the surrounding air to become restless. Zhang Yun couldn't help but take a small step back, her face a portrait of astonishment and anxiety. Are you serious? Gu Yechen was momentarily taken aback by Zhang Yun and Apos' cautious retreat. However, he quickly regained his composure and urged her, Please, give it a try. Zhang Yun glanced at Gu Yechen, a hint of shyness gleaming in her eyes. After a brief moment of hesitation, she finally nodded. She was exceptionally intelligent and quickly imprinted all the information in her mind. With a slow breath, she closed her eyes and began to practice according to the methods outlined in the qi refining technique. Gu Yechen watched anxiously from the side, his eyes fixed on her, silently praying for her success. His hands unconsciously clenched, revealing his inner anticipation. After a while, subtle fluctuations of spiritual energy began to manifest around Zhang Yun. Now that Gu Yechen had established his foundation, he could keenly sense these delicate changes in energy. Overjoyed, a radiant smile blossomed on his face. It appeared that Zhang Yun indeed possessed a talent for cultivation. Yuner, maintain your focus, feel the flow of the spiritual energy, and circulate it according to the technique. Gu Yechen gently encouraged, his voice imbued with warmth, as if he had infused Zhang Yun with a surge of motivation. Zhang Yun nodded slightly, immersing herself more deeply into her practice. As time passed, the fluctuations of spiritual energy around her became increasingly pronounced, resembling ripples spreading across a tranquil lake. Gradually, she became completely absorbed in her cultivation, as the surrounding spiritual energy seemed to be drawn to her like a moth to a flame. Watching Zhang Yun embark on her path of cultivation filled Gu Yechen with exhilaration. He understood well that the days ahead would not be tranquil. He must find ways to prepare the nation adequately for the impending uncertainties. 2 hours later, Zhang Yun ceased her practice and slowly opened her eyes. To Gu Yechen and Apos' astonishment, she had already broken through to the first level of qi refinement, an astonishingly swift progression. You truly are a genius. Gu Yechen couldn't and Apos' help but ruffle her hair, his eyes gleaming with excitement, eager to witness Zhang Yun's continued growth on her cultivation journey. Is this really happening? Zhang Yun's gaze was still somewhat dazed. She initially thought Gu Yechen was merely teasing her, but now she could distinctly feel the miraculous changes within her body, undeniably affirming the reality of the situation. Chun, what does this mean? Zhang Yun furrowed her brow, looking at Gu Yechen with confusion, for in her past understanding, such extraordinary events were simply impossible. I don't know either. It just happened after I had a dream. Moreover, I sense that the world is undergoing changes, so you must cultivate diligently, Gu Yechen replied, leaning in to plant a gentle kiss on her lips. Zhang Yun blushed in response, and they embraced, sharing a kiss that lingered for 2.5 minutes before reluctantly parting. I need to wash up now. I have to go to the company later, Zhang Yun said, her face radiating a tender smile as she looked at Gu Yechen. Why not stay and focus on your cultivation instead? Gu Yechen suggested. That won't do. This is your enterprise. Rest assured, I will carve out time for cultivation each day and not waste a moment, Zhang Yun replied, gently caressing Gu Yechen and Apos' cheek, her expression a blend of tenderness and allure. Unable to refuse her, Gu Yechen acquiesced to Zhang Yun's wishes. In the laboratory, 3 professors were engrossed in studying the mech left behind by Gu Yechen, their hearts racing with astonishment. Their eyes darted across every detail of the mech, filled with wonder and perplexity. They had never encountered such an advanced, intricate, and power-infused machine. Every component, every circuit concealed boundless secrets, leaving them in awe of the effort Gu Yechen must have expended to create it. They had witnessed Gu Yechen operate the mech as it soared into the sky and returned, a sight that replayed in their minds, amplifying their curiosity and excitement about the mech's capabilities. Greetings, professors. I have been sent here to ensure the safety of this place. At that moment, a team entered the laboratory in perfect formation. The leader was none other than the captain of the previous Special Forces unit, Han Bing, accompanied by a stern-faced research professor. Old Lin, is this what you meant? An elderly professor with graying hair looked up at the mech, his face a mask of shock. His eyes widened, and the first impression it left on him was one of profound astonishment, as if his soul was captivated by the imposing and enigmatic machine. Lin Hua nodded and said, Indeed, this is the mech I proposed to General Ma. His voice carried a note of pride and excitement. I've heard that you have witnessed the mech's prowess? The elder continued, his gaze fixed on the mech, scrutinizing every minute detail. Lin Hua nodded again, stating solemnly, We saw the mech take flight and return. The experience was simply unbelievable. At this moment, Captain Han Bing interjected, I was present at the scene and witnessed the mech hovering in midair. This is no ordinary machine. His voice brimmed with admiration for the mech and Apos' formidable capabilities. Upon hearing his words, a grave expression settled on everyone and Apos' faces. They understood that the mech before them could transform the nation and Apos' military landscape and future development. It appears we must conduct further research. If we could mass produce it, it would serve as a national asset for our homeland. The elder stepped forward, cautiously reaching out to touch the mech, his excitement palpable. His fingers glided over the surface, as if he were perceiving the infinite possibilities it held. I share that sentiment, and Mr. Gu has already entrusted us with the manufacturing methods for the mech. With dedicated research, we can surely produce it, Lin Hua declared, his face alight with enthusiasm. As researchers, they were acutely aware of the significance of this invention for the nation and its people. Allow me to assess the mech and amp. Oppo's capabilities, Captain Han Bing said, his eyes shimmering with eagerness. Since witnessing the mech, he had been consumed by a fervent desire. If each member of his squad could possess a mech, their operational efficiency would undoubtedly be bolstered, transforming them into an indomitable force. Chapter 337, The Laser Cannon. A personal trial by the dual academicians. A few professors exchanged glances, their eyes brimming with anticipation, and soon concurred with Han Bing's suggestion. Deep within, they too yearned for a more comprehensive and profound understanding of the mech's performance and unique characteristics through practical operation. Han Bing decisively shed his gear and cautiously stepped into the mech and Oppo's interior space, as if about to enter an enigmatic realm. Captain Han, how does it feel? Lin Hua inquired eagerly, his voice laced with tension. This mech space can only accommodate one person, yet I have never encountered any of these instruments before, Han Bing exclaimed, his eyes widening in astonishment at the intricate and advanced apparatus before him, the buttons glimmering with faint light, the sleekly designed screens, and the layout brimming with technological sophistication presented him with an entirely new challenge. Although the mech was limited in height, it provided ample space for a single operator. Moreover, the actual operation proved far less daunting than he had imagined. Following the prompts, Han Bing gradually familiarized himself with the controls, and the mech began to move. Initially, his movements were somewhat awkward and hesitant, but as time progressed, he quickly grasped the nuances of operating the mech. His motions transformed from tentative slowness into fluidity, merging seamlessly with the mech, becoming an indivisible entity. Professors, this mech is indeed extraordinary, and it's remarkably intuitive to operate. Most importantly, it even possesses a weapon system, Han Bing declared, his voice brimming with excitement. What? A weapon system? They exclaimed in unison, their voices resonating with shock and disbelief. They had initially assumed the mech was solely for long-distance mobility and relied on its sturdy exterior for combat, unaware that it was equipped with such formidable weaponry. Even Han Bing had not anticipated this, as he had never witnessed Gu Yechen wielding any weapons. He had merely believed it to be a mech with exceptional mobility capabilities. Give it a try, an elderly professor said solemnly, though his eyes sparkled with anticipation, akin to a flicker of hope in the darkness. Given that the technological advancements of Eagle Sauce Nation far surpassed those of Huagua, the latter had long been at a disadvantage. Understood, Han Bing replied firmly, his voice resolute. He carefully pressed the operational button for the laser cannon. In an instant, the mech and amp, Oppo's left arm underwent a transformation, revealing a robust cannon before the onlookers. The cannon emanated a chilling aura, and the powerful energy fluctuations rendered the surrounding air dense, nearly sending several professors into a state of panic. Captain Han, halt for a moment. Let an Oppo's relocate. This place is unsuitable for operating the mech, Lin Hua shouted, beads of cold sweat forming on his brow, his voice sharp with anxiety as he feared they would be obliterated if he spoke too late. Han Bing promptly ceased his operations and swiftly exited the mech, his face alight with exhilaration, akin to the joy of discovering a new world. This weapon system is astonishing. If it could be equipped to the troops, our combat capabilities would significantly enhance, he said, his tone tinged with fervor. However, further research and improvements are necessary to ensure safety and stability, a professor cautioned, his expression grave, fully aware of the daunting and crucial nature of the task ahead. Everyone nodded in agreement, each individual's gaze reflecting a shared determination. At the Special Forces training base, a group stood on the expansive training ground, their eyes fixated on the mech, astonished expressions adorning their faces. This colossal and powerful entity emanated an awe-inspiring aura, an extraordinary presence. Captain Han, you should give it a try, Lin Hua urged, his voice filled with eagerness and longing. All right, Han Bing affirmed decisively, his curiosity piqued about the prowess of the mech's weapon system. He steadied himself and pressed the activation button as per the familiar prompts. To their astonishment, the left arm and amp, Oppo's cannon began to charge, light flickering as energy coalesced. Suddenly, a laser blast shot forth with blinding speed, reminiscent of lightning streaking across the night sky. The experimental field's hillside was instantly pierced, dust and debris flying in all directions. The assembly was left speechless. They had expected conventional weapons like missiles or bullets, only to witness the formidable power of a laser cannon. Even Huagua and the world at large lacked such advanced weaponry. And yet Gu Yechen had integrated this cutting-edge laser cannon into his mech. Inside the mech, Han Bing was equally startled by the spectacle. Despite being a battle-hardened captain of special forces, this breathtaking display left a profound impact on him. He pressed another button, and the right arm transformed, revealing an exceptionally sharp laser blade. Is this a weapon for close combat? Lin Hua and amp, Oppo's voice trembled, his eyes sparkling with surprise and excitement. A blade for close combat and a cannon for ranged attacks. This is a flawless combat configuration. A throng of professors rushed forward, their urgency akin to that of treasure hunters. Upon returning to the Qingbei University laboratory, they promptly filed a joint report and expressed the urgency of studying the materials left by Gu Yechen to enhance Huahua and Apos' military capabilities. The higher-ups received this information with astonishment and, without hesitation, approved the research, extending comprehensive financial support. In the conference room, an important meeting was convened, during which the higher-ups meticulously reviewed the mech-related matters. What do you think should be the reward for Gu Yechen this time? Long Zhu, seated at the head of the table, scanned the room and inquired earnestly. He understood the significance of Gu Yechen's contributions and felt that a lack of appropriate recognition would be unjust. Given Gu Yechen's contributions, he could easily rank among the marshals of Huagua's 5 military zones, Ma Xian remarked enviously, his tone filled with admiration for Gu Yechen. Indeed, we have all seen the mech's footage. This is crucial for Huagua, and we must express our gratitude accordingly, another senior official concurred. I share this sentiment. Yet I wonder how Gu Yechen feels about it. Long Zhu mused, rhythmically tapping his fingers on the table, lost in thought. Let us confer the title of Academician of the Chinese Academy of Sciences upon Gu Yechen, and perhaps even double his accolades. I anticipate he has even greater surprises in store for us. Long Zhu decisively concluded, allocating a reward of 10 trillion, a decision reached after careful deliberation. Chapter 338. Riding the sword and soaring with the wind. At this moment, Gu Yechen was deeply engrossed in cultivating the thunder spirit technique within a secluded manner. Although he had completely grasped the essential principles, he still needed to engage in persistent practice to enhance his proficiency. Lu family, you have captured my woman. Prepare to meet your demise. With the ability to wield the thunder spirit technique at will, Gu Yechen and Apos' heart burned with fury, yearning to obliterate the Lu clan entirely. He summoned the thunder sword, stepping forth to ride the wind, a hallmark ability reserved for those above the foundation establishment stage. With his feet upon the thunder sword, he surged forth like lightning, a streak of brilliance racing towards the Lu family's domain. The howling winds shrieked in his ears, his gaze ablaze with wrath, as if he intended to incinerate all obstacles in his path. Meanwhile, the Lu family appeared tranquil on the surface, yet beneath this calm lay a torrent of unease. With no apparent issues visible, at the head of the table, Lu Yuan sat, seemingly listening to the steward's report, yet his mind wandered. The 2 8th-tier warriors he had dispatched were still unaccounted for. How could it possibly take so long to capture a defenseless woman? Have they not returned yet? Lu Yuan glanced at Lu Kuan, his father, his voice laden with gravity, his brows knitted tightly as an ominous premonition intensified within him. No, I called them. But there has been no response. Could something have truly happened? Gu Yechen is undoubtedly formidable. Lu Kuan and Apos' father replied anxiously, his expression betraying his worry. Could it be that something has gone awry? Lu Yuan's frown deepened, the sense of foreboding heavy as a storm cloud in his heart, leaving him feeling oppressed and uneasy. Yet, how could this be possible? If 2 8th-tier warriors could not capture a single woman, they might as well perish. Before long, Gu Yechen descended upon the Lu family estate like a god of war. He looked down upon the Lu mansion, an overwhelming aura emanating from him, pressing the very air into a palpable substance. What did you say? Someone can fly? In the conference room, the Dragon Lord was astonished upon seeing the relevant reports. He then projected the footage onto the large screen, and the attendees collectively gasped in disbelief at the sight. Is that Gu Yechen? A sharp-eyed individual exclaimed, incredulity lacing their voice. Could it be that Gu Yechen is an immortal? He can fly on a sword? Are the tales from novels true? A wave of astonishment and confusion swept through the crowd. It seems I must have a conversation with Gu Yechen. I sense a shift in this world. And perhaps he holds the answers. The Dragon Lord mused thoughtfully. This was precisely Gu Yechen's intent. He understood that showcasing his extraordinary abilities spoke louder than any words could. Lu Yuan, come out. Gu Yechen landed in the Lu family estate, his voice thunderous as it reverberated, plunging the entire Lu household into chaos. The head of the Lu family, Lu Yuan, hurriedly emerged with his men. Upon seeing Gu Yechen, a tightness gripped his heart, as if ensnared by an invisible hand. His 2 8th-tier warriors had yet to return, and here was Gu Yechen, already confronting him. The outcome was all too predictable. Gu Yechen, what do you mean by this? Lu Tianming feigned composure, yet his voice betrayed his inner terror. What do I mean? You sent people to capture my woman, and now you question my intentions? Today marks the end of the Lu family. Gu Yechen's tone was as frosty as winter, his gaze devoid of warmth, as if surveying a graveyard. Humph. Since you are aware, then there is nothing left to discuss. Lu Yuan waved his hand, and his bodyguards surged forward, attempting to overpower Gu Yechen. Your attempts are futile. Gu Yechen scoffed coldly, a wave of pressure emanating from him, causing all who charged to collapse to their knees. Had he not exercised restraint, they would have been obliterated by his might. What is happening? Lu Yuan was taken aback to see all his advancing men kneeling, bewildered that his capable bodyguards could be so easily subdued. Gu Yechen and Apos. S expression remained impassive as he took a step forward, seemingly unremarkable, yet in an instant. One of Lu Yuan's men exploded in a gruesome display. Seeing Gu Yechen's chilling demeanor, Lu Yuan's face turned ashen. This is a misunderstanding, Mr. Gu Wei. A misunderstanding? No one shall save the Lu family today. Gu Yechen disregarded his explanation, and with a flick of his wrist, bolts of powerful lightning surged forth like wild silver serpents, striking down upon the Lu clan. Instantly, the Lu mansion was filled with screams. A cacophony of terror echoing through the halls. Lu Yuan watched in horror, trembling, utterly powerless to retaliate. He had no comprehension of the mysterious method Gu Yechen employed. How could an ordinary person conjure lightning at will? Lu Yuan stood in stunned silence, his mind a void. Are you prepared? Gu Yechen's gaze bore into Lu Yuan, revealing a cold indifference. Please, spare the Lu family. I will hand over the entire clan to you. Lu Yuan's voice quivered, having witnessed Gu Yechen's terrifying capabilities. He no longer wished to oppose him. Do you believe that is possible? Gu Yechen replied coldly. The moment the Lu family harbored intentions against him, their fate was sealed, leaving no room for negotiation. He had merely granted them an opportunity previously. Gu Yechen, do you not fear the laws of Huagua punishing you for your atrocities against the Lu family? Lu Yuan, seeing Gu Yechen unmoved, resorted to threats, hoping to instill fear in him to retreat. Do you think I fear that? Gu Yechen replied, and with a thought, the thunder sword materialized before him. He seated himself upon the sword, hovering 2 meters above the ground, the immense pressure rendering Lu Yuan nearly breathless. Are you human or ghost? Lu Yuan and Apos, eyes widened in disbelief, unable to fathom the surreal scene before him. Gu Yechen was seated upon a sword, floating in midair, an unmistakable reality before his eyes. Do not oppose me in your next life. As Gu Yechen prepared to deliver a fatal blow to Lu Yuan, a figure suddenly appeared, interposing himself before him. Young man, please show mercy. The newcomer was a mid-tier 9th-level warrior of the Lu family, who had just hurried back upon witnessing Gu Yechen's intent to strike. He quickly interceded, pleading for leniency. And who are you to obstruct me? Gu Yechen's tone bore an air of authority, his gaze sharp as lightning directed at the elder. I am a guardian of the Lu family. This matter is indeed a fault of the Lu family, but I implore you, for my sake, grant them an opportunity for redemption. The elder spoke earnestly, his face etched with supplication. Chapter 339. Electrotherapy services. Do you truly believe you possess the dignity to demand such from me? Gu Yechen scoffed coldly. For him, the annihilation of the Lu family was non-negotiable. Is there truly no room for negotiation? The elder, serving the Lu family, wore a grave expression. As a protector of the Lu clan, he recognized that if this confrontation was unavoidable, he must exert his utmost effort. He was painfully aware that Gu Yechen was an 8th-tier warrior, and being so young, he harbored no desire to make a deadly enemy of him. Do you think this matter can simply be brushed aside after Lu Yuan dispatched someone to capture me? Not even a 9th-tier warrior's plea would suffice, let alone that of a 10th-tier warrior. Gu Yechen's gaze was sharp, his tone resolute. He cared not who stood before him. Anyone who dared obstruct him would meet death. Then I implore you to strike, the elder asserted, his demeanor radiating a formidable aura that underscored his determination. It seems you are not a prudent individual, Gu Yechen remarked, shaking his head slightly, a hint of disdain flickering in his eyes. With a determined resolve, the elder lunged at Gu Yechen, intending to seize the initiative and gain the upper hand. As a 9th-tier warrior, he believed his full-force strike would undoubtedly succeed. Although he was reluctant to engage, he felt he had no alternative. Your speed is woefully inadequate. The elder's fist struck the ground where Gu Yechen had been standing, shattering the earth. Yet Gu Yechen evaded effortlessly, akin to a specter. How is this even possible? The elder was bewildered. His full-force strike as a 9th-tier warrior had been so easily evaded by this youth. There is nothing impossible, for you are simply too weak, Gu Yechen chuckled lightly, dismissing the elder entirely. Unperturbed by Gu Yechen's words, the elder regained his focus and launched another punch, a powerful gust of energy surging forth with the speed of lightning. However, as it neared Gu Yechen, it seemed to encounter an invisible barrier, dissipating into nothingness, while Gu Yechen remained motionless. Witnessing his attack fail once more, the elder trembled, gazing at Gu Yechen in disbelief. As a 9th-tier warrior, he was confounded that a mere youth could render his assault ineffective without even moving. Who exactly are you? The elder's eyes glinted with a fierce, murderous intent, subconsciously perceiving Gu Yechen as an extreme threat. I am someone you cannot afford to provoke. Initially, you could have remained unscathed, but now that you have struck at me, the matter is quite different. A subtle smile graced Gu Yechen's lips as he casually pointed his right hand at the elder, unleashing a formidable bolt of lightning towards him. The elder's complexion changed dramatically. At that moment, the shadow of death loomed over him. He realized Gu Yechen spoke the truth. One capable of summoning lightning with bare hands was far beyond his capacity to challenge. Yet, it was too late. The elder immediately summoned all his energy in a desperate attempt to withstand the impending blow. But how could the might of a ninth-tier warrior withstand the overwhelming power of a cultivator? With a resounding thud, even before he could react, the elder was hurled through the air, like a kite severed from its string. A gruesome wound marred his chest, blood gushing forth like a fountain. Can you tell me? Who are you? The elder gazed at Gu Yechen, his voice feeble as he spoke. At that moment, he was gasping for breath, teetering on the brink of death. Do you wish to know? Gu Yechen laughed coldly, forming intricate hand seals that summoned bolts of thunder to strike Lu Yuan and his associates, obliterating them into mere ashes. What do you think I am? After executing this, Gu Yechen regarded the elder with a playful expression. Before his demise, the elder found himself witnessing such extraordinary power. A bittersweet moment he could accept as he closed his eyes, succumbing to his final breath. Gu Yechen observed him with indifference, for he had granted the elder a chance. It was the elder's own choice that led him down the wrong path. Gu Yechen, you shall not die a peaceful death. At that moment, a voice filled with fury rang out. Lu Fei and Lu Kuan had arrived at the Lu family estate, having rushed back with over 100 men upon receiving news, only to be met with a scene of carnage, blood staining the ground. Upon seeing the two, Gu Yechen felt a surge of amusement. He had not anticipated anyone would willingly return to meet their doom, thus sparing him the trouble of seeking them out one by one. What? Do you two wish to kill me? Gu Yechen raised an eyebrow, regarding them with a playful challenge. Lu Fei and Lu Kuan exchanged a glance, their eyes betraying a mix of fear and profound hatred. Gu Yechen, today it is either your death or ours. Lu Fei gritted his teeth, his resolve unwavering. Just the two of you? Gu Yechen scoffed, arms crossed, showing no regard for their threats. Without further ado, Lu Fei and Lu Kuan commanded their assembled 100 men to charge at Gu Yechen. With a cold snort, Gu Yechen unleashed his lightning technique, bolts of electricity descending upon the assailants in an instant. Is this still human? The remaining men were seized by terror, retreating in disarray. It's over. Lu Fei and Lu Kuan turned pale, realizing the futility of their efforts. They had amassed 100 people. Yet Gu Yechen's casual movements invoked lightning as if from the pages of a novel. Brother Gu, spare us. We shall never dare again. Witnessing Gu Yechen's overwhelming power, Lu Kuan finally crumbled under pressure, pleading for mercy. Now you seek mercy? It is too late. Gu Yechen's lips curled into a faint smile, his tone icy. Gu Yechen, if you have the capability, then kill us. Hua will not spare you. Lu Fei's face contorted with rage. He loathed Gu Yechen and cursed himself for provoking him. As you wish. Gu Yechen replied with a cold laugh. Once more, cries of agony reverberated within the Lu family estate as Lu Fei and Lu Kuan's followers fell one by one. Lu Fei, if you wish to die, do not drag me with you. Lu Kuan turned ghostly pale upon hearing Lu Fei's words, astonished by his audacity. I shall provide you with a session of electrotherapy. Remember to avoid me in the future. Gu Yechen smiled slightly, as a surge of lightning struck the two. Lu Fei was caught off guard. While Lu Kuan cursed Lu Fei before ultimately surrendering to despair, closing his eyes in resignation. Chapter 340. The destruction of the Lu family. Gu Yechen surveyed the devastated Lu family estate, a slight easing of his furrowed brow evident. Yet the profound depths of his gaze revealed little of his emotions. In a fleeting moment, he vanished, turning to leave. However, Gu Yechen did not depart entirely. Instead, he quietly took refuge atop a nearby building, calmly observing the scene before him, akin to a battlefield. Before long, a slight boy stumbled out of the estate, collapsing to his knees on the ground, his eyes wide with terror and grief as they fell upon the mangled remains of Lu Yuan. The boy, approximately 15, bore a youthful visage still untouched by the trials of age, yet the horror before him rendered him pale and speechless. Father, what has happened? Uncle, brother. The boy's voice quivered with sobs, tears cascading down his cheeks like a torrential flood, as he beheld the bloodstains that marred the grounds of the Lu estate. An uncontrollable fury began to simmer within him. Rest assured, Father, I shall avenge our family and annihilate Gu Yechen. The boy bowed deeply 3 times before the ruins of his family's home, his forehead quickly bruising from the impact. Wiping his tears, he trembled to his feet, his eyes brimming with vengeance. Gu Yechen, perched above, observed this poignant scene with a hint of exhilaration. He had anticipated this moment, having sensed another presence lurking nearby. He chose not to intervene directly, preferring to await the boy's revelation. It appeared that the Lu family shared a common trait. Gu Yechen shook his head slightly, feeling no ripple of sympathy within him. After all, if they wished to bring about his demise, he could not afford to show mercy. As the boy finally regained his footing, a chill gust swept past him, sending shivers down his spine. He slowly turned around, confronting Gu Yechen's gaze. I hear you wish to avenge them? Gu Yechen inquired, his interest piqued, his penetrating eyes seeming to unveil the boy's very soul. He was curious to discover the source of such audacity in this Navi child. Why you? Why haven't you left? The boy stammered, suddenly feeling all his strength drain away as he collapsed onto the ground, his complexion paling to that of a ghost. To him, Gu Yechen appeared as a demon risen from the depths of hell. What were you just saying? Gu Yechen asked, a seemingly gentle smile gracing his lips. Though to the boy, it carried an unsettling aura. Upon witnessing Gu Yechen's smile, the boy felt inexplicably relieved, reasoning to himself, it seems he won't harm me. One day, I shall ensure he meets a fate worse than death. Big brother, are you here to save me? I don't understand what has happened. My family is gone. The boy cried out, tears streaming down his cheeks like pearls released from a broken string, his sorrow palpable. Gu Yechen, feeling a twinge of compassion for the lonely child, nodded and said, do not weep, little brother. I will assist you. Please turn around. He observed the boy's pitiful demeanor, a flicker of empathy stirring within him. Do not think I am unaware of who is responsible for the massacre of my family. When I grow stronger, I shall not let you escape. The boy vowed fiercely within his heart. Despite harboring deep-seated grievances, he understood the necessity of careful planning to seize his chance for revenge. Very well, big brother. To mask his intentions from Gu Yechen, the boy obediently complied and turned away, though his mind raced with strategies. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning pierced through his back, erupting with blinding brilliance from his chest. The boy collapsed, disbelief etched across his face. Why? He gasped, meeting Gu Yechen and Apos' gaze, filled with despair and resentment. Just moments ago, he had been plotting his vengeance, and now, his life was extinguished in an instant. Because I just learned of your desire to kill me for revenge. So you understand the consequences, Gu Yechen remarked as he approached, gently ruffling the boy's hair. Farewell, may your next life steer clear of enmity with me. With a sigh, Gu Yechen departed, not glancing back. The boy lay in stunned silence, yet the searing pain in his chest gradually dulled his consciousness. He could only manage a bitter smile before slowly closing his eyes, his grand aspirations for vengeance abruptly thwarted. System, is there a way to convert all of the Liu family's assets into currency? Gu Yechen conversed with the system internally, as the system's currency felt inherently unreliable. Who could say what repayment demands might arise later? Ding. Conversion successful. Congratulations, host, for acquiring 30 trillion Huagua currency. The system's crisp voice echoed, and Gu Yechen felt an immediate surge of confidence, his posture straightening. Excellent. Thank you, system. Gu Yechen beamed as he saw the burgeoning figures in his account. Realizing Huagua had granted him a staggering sum of wealth, more than enough to satisfy his desires. No need for gratitude, host. This system has detected significant changes occurring in this realm, for locations are beginning to connect with otherworldly dimensions, and an invasion is expected within a year. Furthermore, the restoration of spiritual energy is accelerating. The system and Apos' tone shifted to one of grave seriousness, and Gu Yechen recognized the gravity of the situation. Should the otherworldly forces invade without precaution, it would spell unprecedented calamity for this world. What Gu Yechen could do was promptly alert Huagua, ensuring that those capable of cultivation embarked on the path of ascendance, striving to amass the strength necessary to counter the impending invasion. Ding. Please ensure Huagua believes your claims to prepare adequately for the impending invasion. Rewards include an immortal-grade spiritual vein, a library, and a spirit-testing stone tablet. Gu Yechen, contemplating his strategy, chuckled at the system's mission. He had already intended to inform Huagua of the situation, by showcasing his formidable strength and extraordinary abilities. He believed it would not be difficult to gain their trust. Is this an opportunity to establish my own sect? Gu Yechen mused, delighting in the system and Apos' rewards. He stepped onto the thunder sword and soared away, a streak of light akin to vibrant lightning, vanishing into the horizon. Dragon Lord, we have urgent news. The Liu family has just been annihilated. An anxious voice rang out in the conference room. What are your thoughts? The Dragon Lord gazed incredulously at the satellite imagery before him. The footage of Gu Yechen soaring through the sky had been captured in stunning clarity, a sight too staggering to comprehend. Who is this Gu Yechen? His power surpasses all imagination. A commander marveled. His emergence may herald either fortune or disaster for us. The obliteration of the Liu family is a matter of grave significance, another official expressed with concern. Regardless, all that Gu Yechen has accomplished thus far has been beneficial to Huagua. I sense that something momentous is approaching. We must locate him swiftly and uncover the truth. The Dragon Lord declared, his expression solemn as he issued orders. Chapter 341. Is 5 billion for a set of mechas excessive? Upon entering the laboratory, Gu Yechen observed Lin Hua and his team deeply engrossed in their new research, their faces illuminated with focus and excitement. Professor Lin, how is the situation? Gu Yechen inquired with a gentle smile, his tone warm and unpretentious. Yechen, we have completed the preliminary design, and our progress is quite promising. If all goes well, we should be able to produce the first mecha in 2 months, Lin Hua replied, his voice trembling slightly with enthusiasm. This was the culmination of countless sleepless nights, combined with Gu Yechen's blueprints for comparative design. Although their creation still lagged behind Gu Yechen's original mecha, it was nonetheless a testament to their hard work. Gu Yechen nodded slightly, his expression turning serious as he remarked, that is good news, but you must accelerate your pace. A significant event will transpire in a year's time. Lin Hua's eyes widened in confusion, his brow furrowing as he tried to comprehend Gu Yeqing's cryptic words. A significant event? Could it be a global nuclear war? That seemed highly improbable, he mused inwardly. Without elaborating further, Gu Yeqing cast a deep gaze at the laboratory team before preparing to depart. The previous mecha had already been handed over for research, and for him, it no longer held significance. What mattered most was how to confront the impending unknown invasion a year hence. Yeqing, we detected a special material from your earlier mecha, which as of now remains undiscovered globally. Could you possibly assist us? Lin Hua and Appo's expression shifted to one of hope, as they had encountered insurmountable obstacles in their research. Although he had hesitated to ask for help, the mention of the looming crisis had made him acutely aware of the urgency. Given their current circumstances, even utilizing the best available materials would require 2 months to fabricate a single mecha, and the performance would not even reach half of what Gu Yeqing had achieved. After a moment's contemplation, Gu Yeqing replied slowly, I do have a solution, and the specific material is accessible only to me, yet it comes at a steep price. Are you certain you wish to proceed? Uncertain of the cost, Lin Hua asked eagerly, what kind of price are we looking at? According to the manufacturing standards of my mecha, it would require at least 5 billion. Gu Yeqing regarded Lin Hua with an air of nonchalance, unwilling to dip into his own funds for this endeavor. Such an exorbitant sum. Is there any way to reduce the cost? This price far exceeds our budget. Lin Hua lamented, his forehead creased with anxiety, for the funding provided by the state was insufficient even to produce a third of what they needed. Gu Yeqing shook his head with resignation, stating, this is already the lowest price. You have witnessed the value of the complete mecha, which incorporates the most advanced technology and materials in the world, many of which even the United States does not possess. To be candid, I estimate that I would only profit around 1 billion from this, which should not be considered unreasonable, he added with a faint smile. Caught in a web of deep contemplation, Lin Hua was interrupted by a fellow professor, who turned to Gu Yeqing and said, we must report this to the higher authorities and ascertain how much funding we can secure. The value of your mecha is indeed immeasurable. Gu Yeqing nodded, maintaining a calm demeanor as he replied, I have no objections. Upon receiving the directive, Haining piloted the mecha away, racing towards the high-level conference room of Huagua. Having just received a call from Lin Hua and his team regarding the necessity for substantial funding to develop the mecha squad, Longzhu sat at the head of the table, his expression grave and his tone heavy. Should we not first ascertain the mecha's precise status and practical applications before dispersing funds? A man questioned, his gaze scrutinizing and cautious. I am aware of this matter, and I believe we should proceed, Ma Xian exclaimed, his face alight with excitement. Having awaited the opportunity to present this issue at the meeting. What are the results? Someone inquired eagerly. I have brought a video of the mecha, Ma Xian replied quickly, producing a USB drive and commencing the display of the mecha's condition and performance, showcasing Haining operating the mecha in a dazzling display. As the assembly witnessed the formidable capabilities of the mecha, their eyes widened in astonishment, jaws agape in shock. The mecha not only exhibited remarkable speed but also unleashed devastating laser cannon fire, capable of obliterating a small mountain in an instant. How much does this contraption cost? Someone asked impatiently, their voice brimming with urgency and anticipation. At that moment, a sudden knock at the door disrupted the atmosphere, causing discontent among those present, as interruptions during meetings were typically frowned upon. What is it? Longzhu's secretary rushed outside, only to return hurriedly, his face betraying an uncontainable excitement. Longzhu, the mecha crafted by academician Gu is now outside, the secretary announced. Fearing disapproval from the meeting, Lin Hua and his team had sent Haining to pilot the mecha over. The secretary's eagerness was palpable, his eyes sparkling with a desire to behold the mecha. Upon hearing this, Longzhu sprang to his feet. Initially, he had not entertained such a notion, considering that the mecha had been financed by Gu Yeqing himself. He could not forcefully requisition it. However, the circumstances had now changed entirely. Longzhu, let us go see it. Someone urged immediately, their eyes alight with fervent expectation, having just witnessed the mecha's prowess. Longzhu led the group directly to observe the mecha. So this is the mecha? Approximately 5 minutes later, the crowd arrived in front of the impressive and advanced machine. Left in a state of awe as if ensnared by a spell. Report, Longzhu. This is indeed the mecha crafted by Mr. Gu. Haining stood tall, detailing the mecha's specific attributes and outstanding performance to all present. Haining, what is your assessment? Ma Xian asked eagerly. Very impressive. However, the mecha's primary drawback is the limited internal movement space. Once occupied by a pilot, it offers little room for additional movement, likely due to Mr. Gu's design choice for a single soldier operation. Haining provided an objective evaluation. Longzhu stepped closer, meticulously examining every detail of the mecha, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Such a powerful weapon, if mass-produced, could significantly bolster our nation's military might. Chapter 342. The Eagle Sauce Nation's reconnaissance aircraft funding is not an issue. As long as it enhances our national defense capabilities, any investment is worthwhile, declared the Dragon Lord decisively, his voice resonating with authority and his gaze unwavering. We must expedite the research and production process with Lin Hua and his team, proposed an official, his tone infused with urgency and anticipation. The room was filled with nods of agreement, creating an atmosphere charged with tension and hope. Recently, Lin Hua had conveyed Gu Yechen's intent, stating that he was the only one capable of acquiring the materials for the mecha. The elder statesman had conducted their own research and confirmed that the materials in question were indeed beyond the production capabilities of the Eagle Sauce Nation, thus lending credibility to their claims. This particular set of mecha was valued at 5 billion. The Dragon Lord paused, surveying each individual present before continuing. This means that each mecha requires 5 billion. I intend to establish a mecha battalion, equipping it with 100 units to form a formidable combat force, prepared for any unforeseen circumstances. With piercing eyes, the Dragon Lord inquired, "What are your thoughts on this matter? How should we proceed with the mecha initiative?" Dragon Lord: "I believe this plan is entirely feasible. The efficacy of mechas is indisputable. We are all acutely aware of their immense power. Therefore, I advocate for immediate action," asserted Ma Xian, his demeanor grave and his conviction palpable, stirring a profound sense of respect among those present. They understood the vast potential and strategic significance of mechas, recognizing the urgency and importance of addressing related matters. Report: a new high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft from the Eagle Sauce Nation has intruded into our airspace. Appearing at an altitude of 30,000 meters, announced the Air Force commander, his expression immediately turning somber upon receiving this unexpected news. "What? The Eagle Sauce Nation dares to brazenly invade our airspace?" exclaimed someone in disbelief, their voice laced with shock and indignation. For decades, such overt provocations had become rare from the Eagle Sauce Nation, as they typically faced swift and powerful retaliation from our forces. The recurrence of such a situation was indeed surprising. It appears to be the latest reconnaissance aircraft from the Eagle Sauce Nation. Our planes have already taken off to intercept, but the results have been less than satisfactory, the Air Force commander said, his fury palpable as he clenched his fists, veins bulging on his forehead. This was not merely a personal affront. It was a serious violation of the sovereignty of our airspace, a flagrant trampling of our national dignity. However, upon hearing the commander and Apos' words, the expressions of those present grew grave. Despite the current military strength of our nation being formidable, the inability to effectively intercept this new reconnaissance aircraft instilled a deep sense of helplessness and anxiety in them. At that moment, someone suggested, "Given the formidable capabilities of the mecha, I believe we could utilize it to assess its combat performance. What do you all think?" Excitement flickered across the faces of the attendees upon hearing this proposal. Just moments ago, Han Bing had introduced the mecha, highlighting its speed, which far surpassed all current aircraft in our arsenal. And most importantly, it was equipped with a powerful laser cannon capable of precise long-range attacks. "Han Bing, I entrust this matter to you. Ensure that the enemy is annihilated within our airspace, making it abundantly clear that our nation is no longer the same as it once was," the Dragon Lord stated, his expression calm yet his inner fury raging. This operation was not only a potent counterattack against the enemy, but also a crucial determinant of future investments in mecha materials and the scale of the mecha battalion to be established. Should the mecha perform exceptionally in this mission, showcasing immense promise and potential, we could proceed with substantial investments and comprehensive deployments without hesitation. "Yes, I will ensure the mission is accomplished," Han Bing replied, fully aware of the gravity and significance of this task. He saluted solemnly before turning to leave, his steps resolute and purposeful as he prepared to pilot the mecha into action. "What do you think the outcome will be?" the Dragon Lord inquired, his gaze revealing both anticipation and a hint of unmasked concern. "Based on the data and capabilities of the mecha, there should be no issues," Ma Xian responded confidently, possessing considerable trust in the mecha's prowess. The Dragon Lord and his entourage hurried to the operations room, where the large screen displayed the stark disparity in the tactical situation between the Eagle Sauce Nation's reconnaissance aircraft and our fighter jets. Just then, Han Bing and Apos' mecha entered the effective combat range, rapidly closing in on the Eagle Sauce Nation and Apos' aircraft at an astonishing speed. "This is the new equipment here for support. I will take over the pursuit from here. Thank you for your efforts," Han Bing communicated calmly with the two fighter jets. "Received. Understood." The pilots of the two fighter jets promptly acknowledged. Just as they prepared to return to base, a mecha-shaped object streaked past them like lightning. Han Bing's mecha. "What is this?" The two pilots were taken aback by the sudden sight, as the mecha approached the Eagle Sauce Nation's reconnaissance aircraft at an unimaginable velocity, and it was still accelerating. Initially, the reconnaissance aircraft from the Eagle Sauce Nation had dismissed our intercepting fighter jets, but upon seeing this new target on their instruments, the speed was so astonishing that it piqued their curiosity. The pilot of the reconnaissance aircraft quickly shifted focus, maneuvering the aircraft at maximum speed in an attempt to escape. It seems we are still falling short, someone lamented, clenching their fists in frustration, their teeth grinding audibly. Just moments ago, they had nearly closed in on the Eagle Sauce Nation's aircraft, only to find it leisurely roaming our airspace, unreservedly taking photographs of the ground below. What they had anticipated as a significant threat turned out to be a mere fleeting moment. The enemy accelerated away and left them in disappointment. The pilot of the Eagle Sauce Nation's aircraft smirked, a hint of derision gracing his features, as he had expected a fierce confrontation, only to find our pursuit utterly lacking. Dragon Lord, look! At that moment, the Air Force commander excitedly pointed to the latest data on the monitor. Han Bing and Appo's mecha had suddenly surged in speed, surpassing the aircraft from the Eagle Sauce Nation, reigniting a fervor of excitement among those present. It appears that the mecha was testing the performance and speed of the Eagle Sauce Nation's reconnaissance aircraft, someone exclaimed in astonishment, their eyes glued to the large screen, fearful of missing any thrilling moments. Chapter 343. The materials for 200 sets. Perhaps the ice is merely warming up, someone half-joked, attempting to alleviate the tension that had nearly frozen the atmosphere. However, at that moment, the crew was no longer as anxious as before, for the astonishing speed exhibited by the mech had left the arrogant reconnaissance aircraft in its wake. In the sky, the mech piloted by Ice appeared beside the reconnaissance aircraft like a ghost. He spoke through the channel, his voice cold and oppressive. After allowing you such a head start, is this all the speed you can muster? Disappointment and mockery laced Ice's tone. He had eagerly anticipated testing the mech's ultimate speed in this operation. Yet the reconnaissance aircraft's performance was profoundly disappointing. How is this possible? Our Eagle Nation's reconnaissance aircraft is the strongest in the world. How could you, from Hua Nation, possibly keep up with us? The pilot of the Eagle Nation, upon seeing the mech suddenly at his side, wore an expression of rage and disbelief, his eyes wide and veins bulging on his forehead. He then accelerated frantically in an attempt to escape, but no matter how desperately he maneuvered, the mech piloted by Ice shadowed him closely, filling him with a growing sense of doubt and profound peril. His only thought was to flee immediately. There's no need to leave. Hua Nation is not a place you can come and go as you please. This vast sky could serve as a splendid resting place for your bones. Have you considered how you wish to meet your end? Ice chuckled lightly, his tone brimming with confidence and authority. For too long, the Eagle Nation had harbored apprehensions about Hua Nation's development, consistently suppressing and restraining it, causing various industries in Hua Nation to face numerous challenges. Now, the moment had finally arrived for a triumphant counterattack. The Eagle Nation pilot, now in a state of panic, trembled as he shouted, "If you dare lay a hand on me, our Eagle Nation will not let you go unpunished. Even at this juncture, you dare to threaten me. A great nation?" Ice's gaze sharpened as he decisively locked onto the enemy aircraft and unhesitatingly pressed the button to fire the laser cannon. A brilliant beam of light streaked across the sky like a meteor, accompanied by a deafening roar. The reconnaissance aircraft of the Eagle Nation was instantaneously engulfed in flames, plummeting from the sky, trailing a long plume of black smoke like a fallen star. Splendid work. The operations room erupted in fervent cheers and applause, with everyone excitedly embracing one another, their faces glowing with exhilaration and pride. Each person's eyes sparkled with the light of victory. This triumph was a beacon of hope in the darkness, illuminating their hearts. The Air Force commander wore an ecstatic smile, thumping the table with fervor, his voice quivering with excitement. Thanks to the mech, we truly struck gold. It seems our mech squadron plan must be expedited. After witnessing the unparalleled prowess of the mech, the Dragon Lord spoke with unwavering conviction, his eyes filled with anticipation for the future. He understood the paramount importance of possessing such formidable strength for safeguarding the nation's security and interests. Everyone nodded in agreement, their eyes brimming with hope and confidence for the future of military advancements, their gazes reflecting their unwavering determination to strive for a powerful nation. Now, how many sets of mechs do you think are appropriate? The Dragon Lord scanned the room, a slight smile gracing his lips. For the mech's exceptional performance in combat had greatly surprised him. He knew that this would become one of Hua Nation's strongest fighting forces, and the quantity determined would directly influence the nation's strategic layout. 500 billion for a single set is indeed no small sum, but given the results, it is undoubtedly worth the investment. I propose we customize 100 sets, forming a special mech squad responsible for responding to domestic military emergencies, someone suggested, his expression serious. Evidently having pondered this deeply, I believe the more equipment we have, the better. However, 500 billion for a single set is quite steep. 100 sets would require 5 trillion, which is no trivial expense. An elder furrowed his brow slightly, his tone tinged with concern. Yet his eyes still revealed a yearning for the mechs. I think 100 sets may not suffice. Hua Nation is vast. Ma Xian remarked plainly, his tone unembellished, yet carrying a hint of worry. He understood that the expansive territory of the nation necessitated stronger forces for protection. What is your opinion? The Dragon Lord turned to the Air Force commander, smiling as he inquired, his eyes filled with expectation. Of course, I believe the more, the better. This equipment is undoubtedly a tremendous asset. The Air Force commander smiled at everyone, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Continuing, I think we should temporarily aim for 200 sets. Adjusting later based on the actual situation. Very well, 200 sets it is. The Dragon Lord decisively made his decision, his voice firm and resolute, injecting a dose of adrenaline into everyone present. In the laboratory, Lin Hua received a phone call. Hello? Lin Hua's voice carried a hint of confusion. We have agreed to your proposal. Inform Gu Yechen to purchase materials for 200 sets. How long will it take to manufacture one set? The Dragon Lord's voice came through the phone, serious and urgent. We will need approximately 2 months to produce a single mech. With Gu Yechen's materials. The mech's capabilities may even surpass the current model, Lin Hua replied, his face alight with excitement, his voice rising with enthusiasm. 2 months is a bit too long. We need to mobilize how many people? Directly call upon relevant personnel. All national researchers must prioritize the mech's production, but we must ensure the personnel's reliability. The Dragon Lord stated solemnly, his tone resolute. The mech's manufacturing process must remain confidential, as it pertained to the nation's military secrets and strategic advantages. Understood. I will ensure that, Lin Hua replied, his expression grave, fully aware of the heavier burden resting upon himself and his team. Yechen, the nation has approved your request and requires the provision of materials for 200 sets. Lin Hua looked towards Gu Yechen, his eyes a mix of excitement and trepidation, fearing that Gu Yechen might not be able to provide such a substantial quantity. I understand. You can rest assured, Gu Yechen replied, having just received the funds transferred to his personal account from the Huan Nation system. Follow me. Gu Yechen led a group of people toward a warehouse, their expressions filled with confusion as they trailed behind him. Upon reaching the warehouse, everyone's eyes widened in disbelief at the astonishing sight before them. The warehouse was completely filled with materials necessary for constructing the mechs. A wave of excitement surged through the group as they rushed forward, their faces alight with joy, some even misty-eyed, fully aware of the significance of these materials for their nation. Chapter 344. The threat from Eagle Sauce Country, so many resources, all acquired with an expenditure of 100 billion. Gu Yechen felt a sense of satisfaction as he pondered this. He could hardly be blamed, for no one could predict whether the system's marketplace might one day unveil something even more astonishing. It is always prudent to prepare for the unforeseen. Meanwhile, the Eagle Sauce Country was in an uproar over the recent incident involving the downing of their reconnaissance aircraft. They issued vehement protests and allied with numerous nations in an attempt to exert immense pressure on Huagua. They threatened that if a satisfactory explanation was not provided, they would impose comprehensive sanctions on Huagua, attempting to coerce China into submission. At the press conference held by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the atmosphere was tense and grave. A journalist from Eagle Sauce Country, with a piercing gaze and a provocative demeanor, directly pointed the finger at Huagua. What is your stance on Huagua shooting down an aircraft that was not within its sovereign airspace, resulting in the death of an Eagle Sauce pilot? The spokesperson responded sharply. Your question is nothing but a malicious slander against Huagua. The reconnaissance aircraft brazenly invaded our airspace and conducted indiscriminate surveillance, which is a severe provocation to our sovereignty. We possess ample evidence to support our actions. The downing of the aircraft was a legitimate and lawful defense of our airspace. Huagua will respond with the utmost resolve and severity to any unwarranted intrusion, regardless of the might of Eagle Sauce Country. We will remember this egregious act and ensure that they pay the appropriate price when the opportunity arises. The spokesperson's unwavering gaze and powerful tone left the Eagle Sauce journalist momentarily stunned. He had not anticipated such a robust and unyielding response from a nation known for its principle of peaceful coexistence and restraint on certain issues. If there are no further questions, this press conference is concluded, the spokesperson declared, turning with poise to exit, leaving the reporters in stunned silence. They were taken aback by the unprecedented decisiveness displayed by Huagua's representative, which underscored the nation's unwavering commitment to safeguarding its sovereignty. In the White House, President Tep of Eagle Sauce Country was seething with anger, his countenance dark as if it could rain. How dare they? Do they think they can defy us without consequences? Tep was furious at the unexpectedly firm stance taken by Huagua's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as he believed that diplomatic actions typically reflected the nation's position and attitude. He immediately ordered the aircraft carrier fleet to mobilize, sending 2 carrier groups to the South China Sea to apply pressure on Huagua. Furthermore, he planned to double tariffs on Huagua's imports, eager to see how they would respond to such boldness. A sinister smile crept across his face as he envisioned Huagua publicly apologizing and yielding to his demands. Additionally, notify all our allied countries to raise tariffs on Huagua by 50%. Should they refuse, we will dispatch fleets to enforce compliance, Tep commanded, continuing to issue his unreasonable orders. At Hua's laboratory, Lin Hua and his team received the materials for 200 sets of mechas and immediately dedicated themselves to the manufacturing process. With the precious resources purchased by Gu Yechen, they were filled with confidence and resolved to create new equipment that would surpass the existing mechas. Aware of the expectations placed upon them by their country and its people, they worked tirelessly, refusing to allow even a moment of complacency. Seeing them engrossed in their tasks, Gu Yechen chose not to linger and turned to leave, as he needed to attend to Chunyu and Appos as second treatment. He simply provided Lin Hua with a few critical instructions before glancing at the clock, which read 11:00 and Appos clock. He extended his consciousness to scan Qingbei University and precisely focused on Xia Yutong, a slight smile forming on his lips. However, he soon noticed someone persistently harassing her, prompting a frown and a shift to a more serious demeanor. In an instant, he vanished from his location. I and Amp, Appos, V told you, I have a boyfriend. Please, stop bothering me, Xia Yutong said, her irritation evident as she glared at the group of men before her. Normally gentle and kind-hearted, she was now thoroughly exasperated by their relentless advances. Yutong, it's all right, I love you. Just leave him and be with me. One of the men, Zhou Tian, said with a lecherous smile, his eyes filled with desire. He had been captivated by Xia Yutong's beauty at first sight and was determined to win her over, even after learning she was already in a relationship. Zhou, has anyone told you that you're incredibly annoying? And that your sleazy demeanor is overwhelming? You should tone it down, Xia Yutong retorted, her expression growing increasingly hostile. Zhou Tian, a third-year student at Qingbei University, had become infatuated with Xia Yutong after a chance glance. His attempts to pursue her had met with repeated rejection. He sneered. No woman I desire has ever escaped my grasp. You will be no exception. He glanced at Xian Yinshi, indicating that he had no intention of letting either beautiful girl slip away. Oh, and what do you propose to do about it? Xia Yutong replied with a smile that belied her authority, her gaze resolute and fearless. Join me willingly, and perhaps I can make it enjoyable for you. Otherwise, Zhou Tian leered at her stunning face, a smug grin on his lips. Otherwise what? At that moment, a commanding voice resonated from outside the classroom, booming with authority and exuding an overwhelming presence that momentarily disoriented Zhou Tian. Gu Yechen strode into the classroom, his icy gaze fixed on Zhou Tian. Do you dare to harass my woman? Are you tired of living? Zhou Tian trembled slightly under Gu Yechen's imposing aura, but quickly feigned composure. Who do you think you are to speak to me like that? Chapter 345. A glance that sealed fate. Humph. Insolent creature. Gu Yechen scoffed coldly, his figure flickering like a specter as he appeared before Zhou Tian in an instant. With a hand as swift as lightning, he seized Zhou Tian's collar, effortlessly lifting him off the ground with overwhelming force. Ah, let go of me. Zhou Tian struggled in terror, his voice laced with fear and panic. Apologize to her. Gu Yechen's voice thundered, resonating like echoes from the depths of the abyss, imbued with chilling authority. Zhou Tian, pale as a ghost, trembled uncontrollably, stammering, I am sorry. With a mere thought, Gu Yechen rendered Zhou Tian's limbs utterly shattered, sparing even the symbol of his masculinity from devastation. Zhou Tian let out a harrowing scream. Never anticipating such a grim fate, his limbs severed, engulfed in excruciating agony. Gu Yechen cast a disdainful glance at Zhou Tian, devoid of any pity, before flinging him aside like refuse. Zhou Tian collided violently with the wall, spewing blood, teetering on the brink of unconsciousness. Achin, you've come, Xia Yutong exclaimed joyfully, darting toward him like a little bird, nestling into Gu Yechen's embrace. Fear not, for I am here. No one shall bully you, Gu Yechen reassured gently, his voice as soothing as a spring breeze, tenderly stroking her hair, his gaze brimming with affection. I believe in you. Xia Yutong, her cheeks flushed, buried her face against his chest, a radiant smile illuminating her features. The classmates in the classroom were utterly astonished. The forums often depicted Xia Yutong as the aloof campus beauty, yet here she was, displaying a surprisingly delicate side, leaving them in disbelief. As the class period concluded, Gu Yechen smiled at Xia Yutong and said, let us go, treat me to a meal. Xia Yutong, brimming with excitement, nodded obediently, thrilled at the prospect of finally treating Gu Yechen, who had always been the one to invite her out. In the classroom, a group of students stood dumbfounded. It was undeniable that Gu Yechen was strikingly handsome, but to directly request Xia Yutong to pay for the meal, and seeing her so elated, was beyond their expectations. Let us go together. Xia Yutong turned to her roommates, her gaze particularly resting on Xian Yinshi, as if sensing Gu Yechen's intentions. The other two quickly declined, pushing Xian Yinshi forward. Confused, Xian Yinshi was pulled away by Xia Yutong, leaving Gu Yechen in a state of bewilderment, who then chuckled softly and shook his head. This girl. Gu Yechen followed suit. Little did he expect Yutong to act in such a manner. Xia Yutong's roommates stifled their laughter, immediately recognizing Gu Yechen's interest in Xian Yinshi, thus refraining from becoming a third wheel. Furthermore, they had witnessed Gu Yechen's formidable prowess, which could very well be advantageous for Xian Yinshi. A collective envy and admiration enveloped the onlookers as two goddesses accompanied Gu Yechen. Who wouldn't wish for such divine company? Outside the classroom, against the wall, Zhou Tian's breath had dwindled to a mere whisper, his lackeys frozen in horror, their legs trembling uncontrollably. They had no idea whom they had crossed. One glance had nearly left Zhou Tian near death. Some were even so terrified they wet themselves. Quickly call for an ambulance. Someone finally spoke, their voice quaking. Immediately, another began to dial. Realizing the gravity of the situation, which swiftly garnered immense attention on campus and began to circulate rapidly online. Gu Yechen led Xia Yutong and Xian Yinshi to the playground. Xia Yutong, puzzled, asked, "Where are we going to eat?" Xian Yinshi wore a similarly confused expression. Why were they tagging